really stepped it up. I mean, we've talked about the last couple of play days. They seem like they've come into more form, and here they have taken out a top 2 contending team right now. Bravo to Okami to pull this one.
Living started in 2013 after we lost a very good man in the name of Dwayne Lally to a mental illness. They say death by suicide affects 115 people, but you can't even put a number on it. The ripple effect that the loss of one life had on thousands of people far outweighed what I've ever experienced in my entire life.
I received a call saying he'd gone missing. I was driving around the whole of the Gold Coast looking for him. I had no idea where to find him.
Dwayne was an avid boxing man, very talented. Life of the party, very charismatic, extremely passionate.
Loving, loyal, he was very cheeky.
Mental illness is costing many people their lives every single day. While I'm sitting here speaking, people are taking their life, and it's because there's people suffering in silence.
1 in 5 people suffer from some form of mental illness, and suicide's the leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 44.
You can look for things like not getting out of bed of a morning, being socially disconnected, loss of appetite, change in mood, change in behaviour, lack of self-esteem.
Dwayne suffered from depression and bipolar for a number of years, and the stigma kept him quiet. So we wanted to turn that negative into a positive, and if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure Dwayne would have done the same. We're just doing what he would have done.
Hi, my name's Dan Price. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't connect with Livin', but I certainly wouldn't be as well as I am today. I was suicidal and tried to take my life on the 4th of December 2014. I was very lucky to survive. I didn't want people to know that I was struggling because of the stigmas around mental illness.
We noticed that there were plenty of great service providers in this country, but all too common people weren't seeking help because of this stigma. So we wanted to bridge that gap.
As males, we're extremely tough. We want to be the tough people, the ones that have all the answers, the ones that don't want to admit our vulnerabilities and our weaknesses.
You might not have the answers, but if you can offer support and just listen to them, that could be what they need in that moment of time.
I was an alpha male and a popular guy, and I didn't want people to think I was weak, and that's why I love the message that Livin' presents, which is it ain't weak to speak.
We go all around the country, businesses, sporting clubs, teaching people that it ain't weak to speak. What we're really doing is educating them in how to speak, where to speak, and then we're educating people on how to listen and how to look for these warning signs, because without one you can't really have the other. It's all about being honest and open. If something's off, just ask them.
That's what Living's all about, taking that stigma away and giving people hope, help, connection, and giving them the confidence to speak up and seek the help when they need it and when they deserve it.
We believe with education comes understanding, with understanding comes acceptance, and with acceptance comes hope.
I want to change the way the world understands, perceives and interprets mental health. Let's change the dynamics in which this is looked at. For far too long it's been a stigma. We're going to make this a dinner table conversation, the same way that we'd put our hand up and run for help if we had a broken leg.
Don't be afraid to have those, hard-hitting, confronting conversations, because it could save a life.
I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life, and Livin' has been instrumental in changing my life for the better.
If in doubt, reach out, because there's a lot of people out there that want to help and support you making that change to get back on track to start living again.
It's the final day for the Oceanic Nationals playoffs. Day number 3 is finally here upon us. We've got 3 teams remaining as well, guys. Welcome on in. It's down to Knights, Okami, and whether or not one of them is going to be able to beat Wildcard. We'll have to wait and see by the end of the day which one comes to fruition.
Big day this afternoon. A lot on the line here. We have 6 major seeding on the line, prize pool on the line, and most importantly, bragging rights as well. So it should be a big afternoon.
Of course, down below, you can see all of the socials. Make sure to let us know how you think today is going to play out. Hashtag OCN, and maybe you might even get featured on the broadcast at some point. We've been doing that all season long. It's been great. Last night and really yesterday as a whole, day 2, guys, was a really awesome experience.
Yeah, look, I mean, we probably didn't get the greatest match of the afternoon. That probably went to Okami and LFO, but that said, it did set up for a really exciting afternoon today and really showed just how close that mid-pack battle is. Of course, we did start out with the Knights and LFO. It was, look, in the end, probably the expected result. It went to the Knights 2-0. That said, though, it was pretty hard fought in the end.
Yeah, it certainly was. And look, it was a really good match to watch and a good match to play out. Knights LFO, of course, the matchup that we got. I mean, the first map was very much one-sided. Definitely LFO did bring a little bit more on that second map, which maybe they were able to then take that form of momentum and definitely give Okami a good run for their money over on that lower bracket gauntlet run, which is basically what Okami has been doing since the beginning of day number 2. That will have to now continue here into day 3. They've been running that gauntlet. It's not a massive gauntlet compared to maybe other tournament formats, but still nonetheless. And not only that, but of course for Okami, they've already had a shot at wildcard as well.
LFO so unlucky to fall just short of Okami. If we look back at the results, it was 7-5 on Theme Park. LFO so close to winning that map. Then Villa went 8-5, a little bit more comfortable there for LFO. Or 8-5 would have been 7-5, I guess. And then, of course, it was a very, very close finale there at Consulate going down to that final round. Then, of course, we then headed into the very final match of the afternoon. It was Wildcard Knights, and that was pretty much the Wildcard show through and through.
Yeah, Wildcard definitely just stamping their authority as the best team in ANZ right now, and whether or not Knights or Okami are going to be able to take them down, it's certainly going to be a very difficult task as it stands right now. Of course, Wildcard already into the grand final, which is a best of 5. They are awaiting the result of the forthcoming match between Pittsburgh Knights and Okami. There's the bracket, though, of course, as to how everything has played out over the last 2 days, going into now day number 3 today. Of course, it all started with Noble and Elevate getting kicked out in the quarterfinals, which was disastrous for Noble because, guys, that meant that was yet another playoff performance. They went out early.
Yeah, and I mean, as it stands now, we only have those last 3 teams left. And of course, the top 3 have qualified for the major later in the year, the November Oceanic Major. So that's the Knights, Okami, and Wildcard. Again, meaning that these matches are still critical in how that will be seeded. Not to mention that there is an independent prize pool here for the Oceanic Nationals. So that doesn't mean necessarily that these teams are just going to go, whatever, shrug this off. These matches don't really matter because they are important. And again, it's bragging rights. OCE has always been about the bragging rights at the end of the day as well. And these teams will want to finish number 1.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's also about whether or not can a team take down Wildcard. It's almost at this point very reminiscent of the Six Masters playoffs that we had a couple of months ago. Of course, Wildcard ended up pretty much sweeping the entire playoffs. Okami made the grand final that time. Okami kind of now have an opportunity themselves to do it again here, where they can potentially get to the grand final. Obviously, Knights are going to want to stop that, have their own little grand final shot in the best of 5 against Wildcard and see what they can do in the grand final. And in terms of the matchup between Knights and Wildcard and how much of a stomp that really was, though, guys, if Knights do make it to the grand final, are we going to see a different Knights?
I mean, I think it's difficult to see the Knights or Okami necessarily actually take down Wildcard. We'll have a look at that Knights roster to start things off. It was a very rough day for them yesterday. The performance against LFO, pretty comprehensive, pretty convincing for the most part. But then, as you mentioned, they then took on Wildcard. They got stomped. So even if they beat Okami today, they are by no means going to get the job done against Wildcard. We'll look at some of the replays. A couple of their players did step up and have stepped up throughout that regular season. Hayward, of course, being one of those key players. He'll need to step up again here against Okami. They'll need those frags on the board to have a chance.
Hayward definitely sort of the MVP of the season for the Pittsburgh Knights, and definitely, though, has had some help along the way. I thought Sejon had a great season for the Knights, stepping in for Strider. But against Wildcard, it certainly just was, a very unfortunate experience for them. And look, maybe they've learnt a lot from that matchup, that if they do get a second shot in the grand final, whether or not they play better themselves, they should at the very least have a clearer understanding as to what they need to do and what they need to bring to beat this Wildcard roster. and understanding that sort of, I guess, the difference between the best in the region versus second and third in the region, which is at the moment where Knights and Okami are at.
Yeah, I also want to give a bit of love to the support players to the Knights as well. I mean, Juicy, for example, he's had a fantastic season. He's never going to be the player that's top fragging or getting the most stats on the board, but he's been a consistent performer across the board, and that's really what you want from your support players. And if they can facilitate the other players, like Hayward, for example, to frag out, that'll be probably a big advantage against Okami, who arguably sometimes don't have those support players stepping up as often.
We're going to have a look at their opponents for today. Okami LFO, of course, are still looking for an organization. Ippy Style, Specker, Cutie Joker, Jack Dad. It's a formidable lineup. They made the grand finals for 6 Masters, which wasn't very long ago. And yes, they had a rough start to the regular season, guys, but they've been a really, really solid team, and quite arguably probably had a better shot at wildcard than Knights even did.
Again, if we want to look at this roster in terms of their actual chances of taking this entire tournament, at the end of the day, they'll have to beat wildcard. They've already played them here in the playoffs. They lost to them in a 2-0 fashion. So again, similar story to the Knights. Maybe they aren't quite good enough to take that first spot, but to even make it to that grand final, they will, of course, need to take the Knights down. And when we look at this roster, in the past, it traditionally has been the Ippy Style show, right? But they included Specker into this roster this season. A little bit of a slow start, but he has really kicked into gear in these playoffs, has been a nuisance to deal with that many of the opponents of Okami have struggled to try and shut him down. And if he can show up again here and give his team that confidence, they could be a really good chance at being able to shut down the Knights.
Of course, both of these two teams had their shot at wildcards, but what about each other? Taking on each other now, Okami versus Knights, it's a tough one to sort of call, isn't it? Because you're looking at it from the regular season point of view, along with also the playoff form coming into it. I think coming into this matchup, both teams got to be close to even.
That's exactly right. I'm finding it really hard to split these teams. When they versed each other in the regular season, it was an 8-7 in favor of Okami. So you could argue that, again, that could have gone either way. That was a really close matchup. The last time they played before that, it was actually the Knights that took down Okami in the OCE August Major in a 2-0 fashion. And leading into this season, I probably put the Knights above their opponents of Okami. That said, though, it's been a little bit of an iffy season for both these teams in some respects. So actually splitting them in this particular best of 3 is really, really tough. And I think it'll probably be heavily leaning into how the map veto plays out. We'll get into that in a little bit, but keen to talk about that because there is a lot to talk about. These teams have pretty contrasting map pools when you look at the results.
Yeah, and we kind of labeled it. This should very well be even. I kind of have this myself going to all 3 maps for this matchup, although I could be completely wrong in that matter. I do feel as if Okami over, say, Knights maybe has more of an opportunity potentially to get that 2-0, but regardless, it's definitely going to be a cracking matchup, that's for sure. And but more than anything, I just want to see whoever comes out of this lower bracket final step up to wildcard and give us a cracking grand final, because it's been a while since we probably have had like a full cracking best of 5 in this region. Yeah,
well, I mean, wildcard did a flawless run through the bracket, in 6 Masters, and they are positioned to potentially do it here again. They'll have a 1-map advantage heading into that best of 5, so the winner of this match also has that going against them. So it is a rough journey for both of these teams, not to mention the fact that this matchup alone, again, is going to be super, super close. But if they can build some confidence heading into that grand final, they might be a chance to get a map or 2 off their opponents.
Well, speaking of maps, we're going to just get straight into the ban phase, guys, and as it sort of plays out, give us your thoughts.
Well, when I look at these maps, you can see that it's a contrast in terms of some of these teams have stronger maps than others. For example, Consulate is a really, really strong map for Okami, and I was expecting maybe for the Knights to ban that out first, but instead they're going to ban out Theme Park, a map that neither of these teams have played a whole lot, but Okami did close out yesterday. We now go into the picks, and there we go. Consulate does show up for Okami, so the Knights, despite being very weak on this map, have let it slip through, so expect that to be an Okami win. Coastline will be the second map, and if we look at that, stronger results there for the Knights. It's a little bit mixed for Okami, but they might have hidden it. Okami haven't played it in a very long time. You'd have to go back as far as 6 Masters when they took on Elevate, and actually, I believe, won that matchup. I hope they won that matchup, but that's what I remember anyway. Clubhouse and Villa taken off the board, not too surprised there. We head to Oregon. That was the map that I was basically locking in as a pick that we would have seen in this matchup. Both teams pretty comfortable to leave that as the decider, and it's a strong map for both of these teams. I have it listed as the best map for Okami, and it's a very good map for the Knights as well. So if this does go the full distance, it should be very close.
Yeah, so Oregon, the deciding map, it feels like it's just the view of that map right now is very much that 50-50 sort of deciding map. And if we do get to Oregon, it's certainly going to be a very tough map to call one way or the other. I'm very excited to see Consulate, though. I know yourself and me haven't really seen too much Consulate for a while, at least in Six Masters. What's intriguing, though, is as this season of Oceanic Nationals has gone on, we're seeing Cafe less and less, just keeps getting banned out. And it was the first one off the board for what used to be kind of the home of ANZ Siege along with Clubhouse. So that's just getting less and less playtime. After seeing those map vetoes, though, guys, has it swayed your opinion on this series at all?
Before this matchup started, I was thinking that there was a real potential that the series could almost be won just from the veto alone. Now that we do have the maps picked, I'm finding it pretty hard to actually make that call. I would say it potentially leans a little bit more into Okami just because of the fact that Oregon is the last map, the decider, and Okami did beat the Knights in the regular season. It wasn't 8-7, and outside of that, the results have been a little bit mixed for them on that map. I mean, for example, Okami actually lost to Wildcard 5-7, but maybe that's actually a gauge of how good they are on this map if they can take a team of that caliber so far. So I think if you want to try and make a call as to who's going to win this just from the vetoes alone, Okami it's still very close.
Let's go to have a look and see what the Snowball panel predictors have laid out for this series. For the most part, it is Knights that are favored. Dev and Ducky, though, going for Okami. And that would mean essentially Okami versus Wildcard. But for the most part, a lot of us do believe Knights and Wildcard will be our grand final. I think this also means, guys, I don't know if you can lose from here.
I can't. So I'm number one. But I mean, if
I can at least get outright second. So how's that for the caster pair 1 and 2?
Well,
that's not bad, mate.
We are the better casters. But if I actually had, because we did these predictions before the actual playoffs begun, right? If I did this prediction this morning or just before we went on air, I honestly probably would have lent into Okami just, and then if I got to predict after the veto, probably Okami still.
You're playing both sides here.
I don't know. I mean, again, if I had to predict today, Okami, but leading into the playoffs, it was probably Knights. And that shows, again, just how close it really is in this mid-table.
I do definitely understand sort of what you're getting out there. This is going to be a very, very close affair. And fortunately, guys, it's a best of 3. So we're going to get the full amount of chances here. Okami will be taking on the Pittsburgh Knights. We head to Consulate first up in this best of 3 lower bracket final. The winner will move on to the grand final, and they will take on Wildcard. The loser is out of Oceanic Nationals.
Been a while since we've casted some Consulate, so not entirely sure what to expect. We did see, I guess, played out yesterday, Okami and LFO. It was a very, very close matchup, went all the way in the end. It's an 8-7 in their favor. In that occasion, we saw Okami ban out the Nomad and the Kaid, so we could see something similar, or maybe they'll try and mix it up. They're probably fully aware that the Knights were watching that match, and now they have 15 rounds of VOD material on them to scour through, and I'm sure they probably would have found some weaknesses in that footage. Let's see what Okami do decide to take off the board. It will be the Nomad, and actually it was, did I say Nomad and Kaid before? Because that's what it was yesterday. I can't remember if that's what I actually said or not. My brain's still kicking into gear, but either way, the bans are still following that pattern so far, so expect to probably see the Kaid taken off. In fact, it's actually going to be the Valkyries, so trying to maybe deny a little bit of that intel on the side of the Knights, who will be starting on that defense first. It's a little bit difficult to predict exactly what the Knights will take off the board, maybe the Pulse for more intel gathering, and it will be the case in the end. That is what they banned against Consulate. I am back. Xenox, my apologies.
I didn't hear a single word of what you just said because
just sit there and nod. Just sit there and nod.
Yeah. Well, no one can see me, so what's that gonna do? Look, whatever. I didn't hear it. I'm sure it was rubbish anyway. I apologize to everyone for having to listen to Gus. Let's get into it though. Knights are going to be defending first up on Consulate. What did you say? I'm not going to ask you to repeat it so I can hear what you said.
My memory isn't even that good, so I don't think I'd be able to repeat it.
For a second, I'm not going to lie, I was just sitting there like, I can't hear you. And then I realized you had muted yourself to me. But anyway, let's move on. Consulate office meeting room. First up, first sight for this best of 3. The one thing that I will say, though, more than anything is that the first couple of rounds aren't going to be very indicative of the series as a whole. Maybe even the first map might not be very indicative of the series as a whole. And we've seen that throughout the playoffs now.
Yeah, quick look at the community vote, and wow, that is very, very close. The Knights just edging out as they did in the snowball predictions, and I would have to, again, agree with the community consensus here. Extremely close, extremely difficult to pick a winner. I do truly believe this will go to the third map. Keep in mind, the first map pick, Consulate, that's Okami's map pick. So probably expecting Okami to win this. Second map, of course, then being Coastline. The Knights probably should take that, right? And then Oregon, that one's anyone's game. These teams are super close on that third map. So, look, make sure you grab a coffee, get comfortable, because we're probably going to be here for a while.
Yeah, we certainly could be. Although we could also just see a 2-0, which could be like an 8-7, 8-7 sort of situation. It can happen 8-6 as well, I guess, even. See what we can, I guess, gather from these first few rounds, though. More so not necessarily the results, but maybe just the play styles and who's looking like they're in a bit of form. Wow, that's a nice early frag, though, for Okami. Specker will find Hayward, and that's a pretty good target to find early on. Hayward has been a menace for the Knights, and that's going to be the Malusi off the board.
Yeah, not entirely sure if Hayward was intentionally spawn peeking that location. Didn't quite get a look, but either way, it's a nice opening pick. The Banshees already would have been placed by Hayward, so in terms of utility, it's not the biggest loss, but of course it is one less gun on the board and a little bit less pressure that you do have on the site. So far, it's looking like Okami might be shaping up for a main window push-in, try and swing through, maybe even use the smokes from the gridlock, for example, to try and cover a plant. Juicy, though, he's in yellow. He's in a great position to try and deny that cross. He can spray through the soft wall in front of him. He can also lob some gas grenades into that objective. So I think if Okami want to go for this push, they need to try and clear this position out. And it looks like that's what they're trying to do. And they did.
Yeah, Ibby Style does get involved early on the Ash, and it's going to be another frag for Okami. There's a retrade back, but Knights continue to just be at this disadvantage. It is low. Well, that's Sajon eliminated and waiting. And, well, this opening round has just gone disastrously wrong for Knights. It's a great start, though, for Okami's attack here on Consulate. Now, Cutie is down by Dino, but 1 versus 3 for the remainder of this round. Joker's going to get that diffuser down. 45 seconds remaining now for Dino to maybe make an opening statement play. It would definitely be a montage reel play just to the right. Not going to spot Jack Dad. And Okami will get the first opening round here on Consulate.
Nice little pick there from Jack Dad at the end. In fact, he was one of the key players that actually got them in this position in the first place. He hit multiple clutches against LFO yesterday. A lot of those in very high pressure situations deep into maps as well, and kept them afloat. So expect him to probably be thriving still here today. And I mean, just in general, that was a really clean start for Okami. It started off the back of that opening pick, and then from there, the other key positions, the key anchor positions, pretty easily cleared with util in the end as well. So a little bit of a worrying sign for the Knights. Again, it's Okami's map pick. And I would even go as far as to say, if let's envision a scenario where Okami sweep this map pretty easily, I don't know, 7-2, 7-1, whatever you want to pick out.
Jeez.
Maybe that's not going to matter too much. As long as the Knights don't get in their own heads, I'm confident they can back that up here later in the series anyway. So it's not too much of a stress this early to let a couple rounds slip anyway.
I'm gonna disagree with you. I think if they were to get destroyed like 7-1, 7-2 here on Consulate, that is a bad look at this point in the season where, you know, you're gonna be down a map in this lower back final best of 3. What does that say for your chances of being able to go and beat Wildcard? I mean, it wouldn't be a good look. Now, if it was, say, like a 7-5 loss to Okami, that's fine. You can definitely move on from that.
10 seconds remaining.
Head over to Coastline and try and tie it up 1-1. But look, it's only 1 round in the books right now. And this is sort of where Knights need to prove their mettle here. Because a team like Wildcard, they adjust on the fly. They've got a really strong map pool. Regardless of what the opposition picks, they play it well. And Knights need to do the same here on Consulate, which I definitely think they can do. 1 round's not going to change everything. Get 1 back here and find a bit of a footing on the map, and they'll be fine.
Knights selecting to reattempt above here. Similar positions being held, expecting Hayward probably not to be as aggressive. Of course, it was the opening death for the Knights in the last round and really steamrolled from there. So we can see everyone playing pretty passive positions right now. We do sometimes see teams extending all the way deep into admin to waste a little bit of time, but especially in the more recent matter, that really has fallen out of fashion. And it really does revolve around this sort of yellow stairs front desk area. We saw Juicy get cleared really efficiently last time, and he's holding strong again here. One ADS already burnt. Magnets flying out as well to try and support this position. Question is, how quickly can Okami try and clear it? So far, it's been a pretty good clear so far. I think that ADS has been burnt as well. And there we go. The nade is perfect. Spot on from Okami. Only took them a minute as well. That's really well played.
Another early frag as well for Okami. Getting that opening death. There was so much utility on top yellow as well. Josh Dino said you're all close to the site. Okami, though, have got multiple avenues now. They can pincer on here on the second floor. Slowly but surely, and still have a minute and a half remaining as well. Specker coming up on the south side now as well. Just apply as much pressure really as you can here against Knights, especially utilizing that man advantage that they've now got. Specker having a bit of trouble there. Does take a bit of damage for it. Cutie's now in on yellow stairs.
Risky roam here. Does pay off though for Hayward. He found the pick rather. Cutie just getting timed a little bit there, and that's a good way to get the Knights back in this matchup. There's only 50 seconds now left on the board. The man count is the same, and it feels like Okami have been stalled out just a little bit here. Specker might be able to try and find a pick from below, maybe do some disruption as well. Not sure how much utility he did have in the bank. It does look limited. In fact, it is limited, so his impact might be a little bit limited here, and I'm not sure Okami really set themselves up nicely here. Cutie just runs straight in towards the site, so that was quite unfortunate for him, and Specker's left the game, so it's now a 2-on-4.
Yeah, so Okami, good start, but it looks as if that we're going to be coming back here for a brief moment. Look, what I will say is they keep finding these opening frags. They keep being able to put a lot of pressure as well onto Knights. It's a good start here on Consulate. You mentioned it though, it is their map pick. How much of that really plays into it? Hard to say right now, but I think Knights on defense definitely need to step it up over this first half. By the end of it, definitely have to find a different tune and play the right chord, because I gotta say, Okami looking good right now. And the thing is, if they do win this first map, Okami get a free shot on Coastline, essentially, because it is, of course, Knights' map pick. So realistically, for Knights, it's about putting in a good performance here. Don't just rest on your laurels and hope you can get it done on Coastline, because Coastline is the kind of map that, even if it is Knights' map pick, it can be a bit chaotic. And there could be some strategies that Okami have cooked up on it. And it's just such an open, free roam sort of map, less structure as well at times, that you don't want to be going down 1-0 going into Coastline, that's for sure. So Consulate right now, Knights definitely need to step it up.
Yeah, and so far from what we have seen, nothing is standing out to me as being extremely innovative. It's been relatively textbook so far, particularly from the defense. The Knights are leaning heavily into holding that yellow stairs location, yet every time it has been cleared so efficiently. And that's a sign that Okami are really in sync in their communication and it really prioritizing their checklist of clearing these locations really, really quickly. In that last round, for example, Juicy, within a minute, was naded out, had no impact on that round. And of course, that means that you don't have gas grenades for later in the round to deny the plant. And that yellow stairs location is exposed. It did stall out a little bit there. Unsure whether that round will actually be played out on their end and count. We'll have to wait and see. But it did look like the Knights did a better job in actually recovering from losing that first pick, whereas in the first round, they really struggled to get back into the game. And that actually was really off the back of Hayward getting aggressive. We almost saw Cutie take him down, but got timed a little bit, unfortunately, there. So again, can't always be relying on Hayward. We say that time and time again about these key players. Leaning into them is okay, particularly when it's not your map pick. But again, you can't be expecting every single round for these players to have an impact, because that just doesn't happen.
No, it certainly doesn't. You cannot be just relying on one player. You know, we looked at it, I think, a little bit yesterday, where there was maybe a bit of a over-reliance on certain players, and you just can't really have that. It has to be a collective team effort if you're going to be, especially advancing to a grand final. Maybe if you know, you're just trying to avoid relegations and it's a best of one. Sure, one player could probably pop off for one game and carry you over the line, but to get this deep, to get this far, look, there's a strong reason why these two teams are still alive in the playoffs as well, is that they do have a pretty stacked roster of really strong teammates, fraggers that are also coupled with good support players, and it just gives them a good solid foundation. The biggest thing for me right now is that we haven't really seen enough to really gather enough intel as to whether or not this is just a slow start from Knights potentially. I mean, even then, it's only 2 rounds. Like, you can have a slow start that might linger for 3-4 rounds and then you get back into it and you're fine. But the first round didn't really bode well. It wasn't good signs. Okami looked a little bit better, but it's only 1 round to go off, really. And the second round, it didn't seem like much had changed, though, to be honest. It seemed like there was one that was roaming around a little bit more for the Knights, and I think by the end of it, maybe had paid off a little bit more than the first round, but ultimately, we are going to see them actually win the round. There you go. So 1-1, as we kind of expected, I think, by the end of it. It means that they're on the board, Guz. It's something that they can now build on.
Yeah, so obviously received confirmation now that it is 1-1. That round did get played out on the players' end, and I was, you know, just before we did come back to this rehost, I was probably expecting the Knights to take that round.
Yeah.
Okami were incredibly stalled out, especially in comparison to the first round, and on top of that, Spectre DCing as well probably didn't help as well. In the end, though, that means it's one apiece on that site. We're now going to see, of course, it rotate to another site. That begs the question, where will the Knights head us? Will we go down below to basement, or will we go maybe to split or even lobby? I mean, we don't have a hard breach denial on the board. We don't have a Kaid, we don't have a mute, for example. So that will make Garage a pretty tricky objective to defend. And I mean, that might even continue on when we see Okami on the defense. I would not be surprised if we see this be pretty evenly split between the attack and defense. It might even lean a little bit into the attack, just depending on how proficient these teams really are. So I'm keen to see when we do head to this next site, if that will actually come into fruition, or maybe the Knights will step up and bring something new to the table. Because as I mentioned earlier, so far, it's been pretty textbook and pretty straightforward.
But so far, we've only seen one site as well. It just so happens that, of course, Knights lost it the first time. Now they've finally won it. So we are going to see a little bit more of Consulate here to give us more of an idea. And that's sort of what it keeps sort of harking on about, is not only is this a best of 3 and there's a long way to go, that we've only played 2 rounds and it's technically only been on one site. So we haven't really gained much of an understanding just yet. But in terms of the, not really necessarily a question I posed, but the thought process of how they're looking in-game, in these rounds, the play styles, the positioning, this is what we need to see more of. Obviously, we've only seen 1.5 rounds technically of that sort of style. But I think right now, Kami's attack, in terms of their in-game positioning and the way they're pushing these sides, I do like what I see. And I think they've got a very good understanding here on Consulate.
And it's a stark contrast to what we saw at the earlier parts of the regular season. I was often confused and a little bit upset to see some of the ways that Okami were actually pushing these sites. It felt like they were heavily relying on individuals and the timing was a little bit lacking, and maybe too many solo plays were trying to be executed. But I mean, these first 2 rounds are giving us an indication, at least here on Consulate, that their communication has been really strong. They're timing these clears of utility really well. They're combining that with nades as well, for example, to clear key locations. And that's going to be critical as well. We're going to head down towards basement. Getting that wall open will, of course, be of high importance. It shouldn't necessarily be impossible, but again, with those hard breach operators not being banned out, the Knights could elect to bring them to the table, but they're actually not going to. Only the mute. Dino's probably going to use those more so to actually deny drones and intel, which might give an indication that the Knights will go for a heavier roam, try and hold from above. We'll have to wait and see, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do try something a little bit more aggressive.
I mean, we have seen in the playoffs so far that a lot of teams have been, especially sort of basement sites, more than happy to just turtle up and allow the attacking team to try, I guess, make a mistake. We'll see what Knights are gonna play here. I mean, at best, I think on Consulate basement, you might just have 1 or 2 on this first floor, especially in the bathroom. Whether it's the mirror, we'll just put the actual mirror up, as you can see already. Doesn't necessarily, though, have to be the mirror who does sit in the bathroom, though.
This is a strat that we've actually seen. It's an adaptation, a permutation of a mirror bathroom strat that rose in popularity a long time ago now and hasn't been played a whole lot since. Most teams felt a little bit uncomfortable in this position, but the Knights are experimenting with this position. Josh is going to hold that, of course. He has the T5 SMG, very strong primary, ADSs as well to support that position, and Dino as well, with a gun roaming alongside, Hayward actually roaming above as well. So the Knights are investing heavily above here, probably aware that the wall is going to be opened eventually anyway, and then they can play off these vert holes, for example, that Dino is creating when they want to try and deny that entry and deny the plan.
Well, I was going to say, though, that we have actually seen it. Well, we saw it in Six Masters a bit, but we haven't ourselves seen really much of Consulate. There hasn't really been much of Consulate played in the regular season of Oceanic Nationals anyway, so see how it plays out, though. Dino might just find one here, though, if he gets a bit fortunate and has a bit more patience, although now realizing he has been droned out. That's going to be a quick fallback. Minute and a half, though. A lot of time for Okami to have to make up here, and they make up they will. Joker will take out Dino just near yellow stairs, and that's going to be another opening frag for Okami. Weren't able to capitalize, though, of course, in the previous round. Well, they were able to in the first round. We'll see if they can do so here. The longer this round goes on, though, you just wonder if that bathroom influence will actually have any influence. I don't think it will at this point.
Well, there's a minute to go now, and Okami are stacking heavily outside the breach. That means that if they do try and enter, the vert holes from above will play a critical role. And the likes of Hayward and Josh aren't really pressured in this position at all, so they should be able to find these picks. Hayward as well, with an aggressive run out, will find one, and they're actually going to enter, but no one is holding this from above just yet. And if they push deep into the site, which they will, those holes basically mean nothing. They'll be able to frag out the site, should be able to try and get this plant down, and it will be a tough retake for the Knights.
3 versus 3. Josh was able to get 2 there on Tibistal and Jack Dad. Juicy's down here, so it's only Hayward. Joker's very, very low, though. So a lot of the work is going to have to be through Specker. Juicy's going to get picked back up, though. Hayward expecting maybe the push from Okami. Juicy's point of view, really not the greatest there. Hayward's just playing so patient right now, knowing that if he does pick up Juicy, he's going to give away his position behind that shield. Finally, now Specker's going to go for the plant. Joker just watching and trying to provide that overwatch. 2 versus 1 now, because Juicy does eliminate Joker, who was so low. Specker's been clutch, though, all season, especially in these playoffs. Juicy at the bottom of yellow stairs, just seeing if he can get that height advantage. It doesn't matter. Specker is on another level here in the playoffs so far.
Good cleanup there from Specker in the end. Consulate basement, arguably one of, if not the hardest post plant to retake as a defense, because often you will see the attackers retreat outside and play really long angles. Of course, on that occasion, Specker didn't really have the opportunity to do that, was caught in a little bit of an awkward position, but did find the pick. Juicy was, of course, very low after getting picked up. In the end, a pretty good attack there from Okami. It was a disappointment not really to see that vert hold from above do a whole lot when Okami tried to push in towards site. It didn't seem like anyone from Okami was pressuring those holes. And if someone was sitting there inside a piano, probably could have shot down, maybe got a couple of free picks. Either way, though, wasn't meant to be. We are going to see the Knights actually reattempt this site. So that's the second time already that they're reattempting a site that they've lost. It did work out for them upstairs, and they'll be looking to try and do the same here down below. The operator picks are suggesting to me that we could again see that vertical hold from above. The mirrors on the board, but they've also brought the Kaid as well, and Juicy might use that to deny the main breach from being opened a little bit longer, or maybe even use it above to fortify this position.
Well, the mirror hold bathroom, how much of an impact did it really have in that last round? Hard to say. It does, I guess, negate an area of an attack for Okami, or make it a little bit more difficult to try and push through. It can be relatively safe depending on how you play it, because you can just drop down. So really, it's all dependent on how the Knights want to play it, but it does feel like that garage wall does need to be held up maybe a little bit longer this time around, and it became a very big avenue for Okami in the previous round here on Garage and Cafeteria.
So I'm not sure where Juicy has played the electro cord. It looks like it's on the main wall. He's actually tricked one of the summer charges? No, I don't think he's actually tricked any of them. So they're actually going to open that breach anyway.
Wow.
Which basically means those electro claws are redundant unless they are being used above. Doesn't look like they are. In fact, actually, it is being used on one of the walls. So the second one's already gone to waste. That one will be taken down for good now. And look, it's only 45 seconds into the round. Okami have this pressure. It's perceived pressure on this breach. Even if no one from Okami is sitting out there, a defender needs to be mindful of this position because it could essentially be a free plant if they do make it inside. No one's watching the vert as well. So these positions being held by the Knights at the moment are a little bit scary if you're a Knights fan.
Yeah, Sejuan, though, sitting just behind the white van, does have to be careful from this sort of position, especially if he peeks out there. Could easily just take his head off. Those ADSs are getting eliminated. Josh does find a frag, though, onto Cutie. It's a big one. Joker already in on yellow stairs.
Oh, Dino. Have a look at Dino's angle. So he's on the hatch all the way in CEO. He can look down the vert holes in towards the site. If he hits his shots, Okami will have no idea where that's coming from. No kill cams, of course, in comp. But Jack Daddy's actually made it in already. Plant's going down. I don't think the Knights are aware. This is going to be a tough retake. C4 heads out. I think it was shot. And this is going to be very, very hard, if not impossible. They can just sit back now, Okami, and they can just wait for the Knights to funnel through.
Yeah, Josh pushed up, but it was a little bit too late. Specker was able to find a frag as well. Watching as Jack Dad was running out. Specker's taking a lot of damage here and will now actually be finished off by Josh, who pushed into that aggressive position. Juicy's actually gone for the defuse here. 18 seconds left. Ippy pushes in from behind, takes out Dino, and the Knights have just been collapsed upon. Okami just pincered them by the end of it.
Again, classic Consulate basement. Once that plant goes down, it's almost always going to go the way of the attack. Very, very rarely do we see those retakes actually work. It really came down to that point where the Salmas from Ace opened the wall so quickly. And I don't know if Jack Daddy entered through the breach. Maybe he even went yellow stairs. A little bit hard to tell. Didn't quite get to see it. But the plant did go down. Wasn't contested. There was a very late C4, I believe, from Sage. But I believe it was also shot in the air.
I think he just ran in. They smoked the black car and then just literally just walked in and then planted.
Yeah, which was unfortunate because Dino had such a great position above, but of course you can't cover the entire garage. So he was probably banking on the fact that they'd go in through the more common entrance in towards front white, which they didn't. And by that point, it was basically already over. And then the sweep in wide late from Ippy style was pretty huge as well and put that nail in the coffin.
Well, we head back up to the second floor. CO in meeting, which... I mean, mixed success here for Knights. It's not exactly a safe haven. But obviously just given up on basement already. 3-1, great start for Okami. They certainly look the better of the two teams at the moment. Early signs, early days though, of course. We're only heading into our 5th round of this entire best of 3. And it is, of course, Okami's map pick. So you do, I guess, have expectations for them to perform here on Consulate, and right now though they are meeting those expectations.
Back upstairs now. Key position here in yellow. Juicy time and time again has been holding it with the smoke. Nothing wrong there. Commonly done, commonplace for that operator to play. But Okami on the attack have been very, very clean in clearing that out. They've been dumping utility quickly. We can see them already 20 seconds into the action phase, setting up to burn these ADS devices. Once they're gone, there's only so much Josh can do by trying to replace them with magnets, and it makes it nearly impossible to sit here. And I think Juicy is actually read into this. He's playing now back into a bathroom. Yes, he is. In fact, he's actually now going to reposition, so still playing at quite high risk. Okami, I'm sure, will be looking to try and clear this out and get another free pick.
Juicy just trying to delay top yellow. I'll still have another gas canister to use. Joker trying to find something through that skylight. Juicy just feels like, no, actually, that's going to be his last one used now in the bathroom. Running out of utility here. Still 2 minutes to go as well. It's been quick from Okami in clearing out a lot of this utility from Knights. And Juicy's just under so much pressure. I thought he was maybe going to get that onto the repelling Cutie, but no. Cutie wins that exchange. Push though coming from Josh. The top yellow will at least get the refrag. 2 down for 1 at the moment, though. Knights have got the numerical advantage with 1.5 minutes remaining.
Hayward on the roam again has been a little bit of this wild card on this defense, trying to find these picks on the roam. With the Knights at the man advantage now, I wouldn't mind seeing him just retreat back to site if you're in a 4-on-3 on this objective. Normally you can trade it out pretty comfortably. Maybe they're a little bit scared that the likes of Specker and Jack Dad can come up big. And there we go. Hayward does drop Specker inside of Printer. A nice C4 there from below. And that should be a Knights round. Now, that said, Jack Daddy, as I mentioned a little bit just before, bit of a clutch king. Many rounds that should have gone the way of LFO didn't off the back of Jack Daddy's clutches. So the Knights need to be a little bit careful here that they don't throw the round.
Would be disastrous to throw the round from here. You're up 4-2 in this particular round. You lose it, you probably go 4-1. And yeah, that's Hayward getting jacked out. That should be all but secured now.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
That's a good round for Knights to win, though. At least that's two wins in a row here on CO and Meeting. It just keeps them alive. 1 round to go in the half, and well, you just have to pose the question: do they give Basement another go?
Yeah, not too sure if they will. Well, it looks like they are. So this is the final round of the half. The Knights in a position to draw things out, or Okami could extend that lead. We haven't seen the Knights successfully defend this site yet. They've done a very similar strat on the first 2 occasions with the mirror above. Unless they 6-pick it here, probably not going to see any hold above, or at least not to the same extent. And that's probably the right call. We didn't really see it pay off the way they would have liked.
You gotta stop muting yourself to me, guys. It's getting ridiculous.
Sorry, it's every time I click my spreadsheet, I must be pressing the wrong button. The point I was trying to make is that they're probably not going to be doing the same upstairs hold, no mirror on the board. We don't expect to see that again. Maybe just hunker down on site a little bit more and play off the plant denial, because we're seeing this breach get open really early, and now the defense needs to focus on how they're actually going to stop that plant from going down quickly as well.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't working out with the mirror up in the bathroom first floor. Put a bit more pressure and try and have a bit more security down in this garage section. I think the main goal for Knights here is to probably just try and keep the reinforced walls up for longer than, say, 30 seconds. That's how quick
5 seconds left.
it was for Okami last time out.
Attackers are heading out to defuse the bomb.
The problem is you maybe, though, think if they put a lot of pressure here onto this garage section, if Okami then want to actually get onto that first floor and gain a bit more vertical control rather than just horizontal control.
100%, and that's of course the risk that you run. The question will be, have Okami droned out above? Are they comfortable in pushing above? I mean, if Okami want to be taking down teams like Wildcard, they need to bring that adaptation to the table. So if they're as good as, you know, Spec is pumping them up to be, I would be hoping that they're going to head above, because it is basically for free. I don't think there's anyone roaming. There's Dino, but he's heading back down anyway. So this is free real estate, as they say, and Okami can then work that floor and displace these defenders, which at the moment, they're just chilling. They're just waiting for anything to happen. And so far, not a whole lot has happened outside of Specker getting a little bit of control, but we still have to wait for them to mince that floor up and actually get some angles in towards the site.
But it is good adaptation, though, from Okami. So it's kind of just basically like a chess game at the moment between the two teams. And Okami just always one step ahead. You're like, okay, well, if you're going to just turtle in basement, we'll take that first floor control. Play a bit more vertically. Not only that, but you can get rid of those claws as well from this first floor press room, and QD on the buck can really do some damage if left alone up on that first floor.
Ping 2.0 as well, they're on display. That can give away the position of the Electro Claw. Cutie, easy as that, will take it down. And now this opens up the opportunity for Okami to open up the breach. Jack Daddy, as quickly as that, will throw 2 Selmas onto that breach. That will open up some nice holes in towards that white default. And now with a minute to go, this is the sort of stage of the round that we were expecting, right? The Knights now, with this plant denial, they have Josh on the Maestro, they have Juicy on the smoke. They need to be the ones that come up big here to stop that plant going down, or at least delay it for as long as possible to allow for some late round aggression. If they let it just go down for free, we'll see what we saw in the other 2 rounds where Okami can just sit back and win the round pretty comfortably.
I mean, you can already see the difference, though, between, I guess, the positioning this time around for Knights versus last time. At the very least, they've been able to get that clock way down compared to last time out in terms of that garage wall being open. Cutie there with the opening frag on Sejon gives Okami the numbers advantage. It's not looking good for Knights here. They haven't really been able to do anything other than just sit back. Jacktad's going to go for front white here and get that plant down. Specker watching and waiting. And Knights are just so reactive here. They're not being proactive. Josh just gets caught by Specker and they're just falling like flies even through the wall. They are losing members quite rapidly. Diffuser's planted, and it's only Dino and Juicy. They're going to be able to do anything here for Knights to try and salvage this situation. Juicy, I don't think from here is going to be able to win the 1 versus 4, and he is not. And Okami, once again, will take this basement site 3 out of 3 times.
Yeah, a little bit disastrous there for the Knights. I'm sure upon reflection, they're not going to be very happy at the fact that they went there 3 times. They had the option to mix it up. I mean, they could have even gone to split, for example, and just tried something new, and it probably would have had a higher chance of success. Nonetheless, though, nothing you can do about it now, and Okami will have the lead in their map pick 4-2 the scoreline. I'm actually going to say basement again, so we've seen quite a bit of it so far. Keen to see, really, what are Okami going to bring to the board to counter the playstyle that we did see from the Knights. They're bringing the mirror, they're bringing the bandit, so they might be trying to play more active on the breach to stop the Knights from opening it, and they might also be incorporating some vertical play as well.
Well, when you think about it, really, when you look at Knights' strategy, it was either we're going to put a lot of pressure on that first floor or we're going to put none. Okami might just think, why don't we do a bit of both and see how we go here and put that mirror wall up on the first floor. I mean, they may not actually even do that. They may even not put a lot of pressure on the first floor. May just be perceived pressure, I guess. Try and buy time, make it so Knights just can't free roam around on the first floor. Kind of like what we saw Okami being able to do in that last round on their own attack, right? They were literally just free roaming first floor, did whatever they pleased for like a good minute and a half.
5 seconds left.
And I don't know if you can really allow that to happen. We'll see how much pressure they do apply here in the first floor.
Attacker's objective is to locate
And we'll see,
the
I
bomb.
guess, also, and I'm just honestly intrigued to see the difference between the 2 sides and how they play this, especially since it is back-to-back sites, but just switched in the half.
Yeah, and Cutie hadn't even placed down those mirrors during the prep phase, maybe trying to hide where he's actually ultimately going to put them down, but it didn't look like it was going to be vert play. The hatch was reinforced, so yeah, absolutely nothing there. I'm assuming they're both in sight. We see one security, the other one's probably going to go on the second reinforced wall. So far, this is looking better than the Knights in terms of being able to deny the plant going down. And on top of that, they have, again, Specker on the Bandit who can play a little bit more of an active role in actually stopping that breach getting opened. Of course, Thatcher's taken off the board, so that will force the Knights to go above or even play risky on Yellow Stairs to clear that. So, I mean, so far, the obstacles that Okami have created are looking a little bit more challenging than what we saw from the Knights earlier.
No ace either by Knights. We saw ace used by Jacktad for Okami. Their own attack. Jackal's going to be used as well for Dino. Look, I guess in the end, it seems as if this first floor is just going to be completely open for the Knights. John on the sledge can obviously just clear from above. Would you see eventually to open up this garage wall? Specker trying to be a bit of a nuisance and see if he can potentially punish Sejon.
Minute 15 left now, and it sounds like the main breach is getting opened. Pressure from above as well. Not sure if that's not showing up on our side. I think there are holes above. Yes, there are. So they're just not showing from below. Either way, that is pressure, of course, in towards the site as the Knights prepare to cut off these angles and try and think about getting a plant down. The diffuser is in the hands of Juicy over towards the breach. So probably expecting a default white. Okami, though, still with plenty of C4s on the board. They also have the Maestro Evil Eyes as well. So it's not exactly going to be an easy plant.
Yeah, and there's only 40 seconds left in that wall. Is it even open yet? Kind of.
Yeah, that's good enough. That'll do.
Yeah.
Not as nice as the ace, but it does the job.
No. It'll work, but 25 seconds left. Okami just wondering when is this push actually going to happen here, because this is taking a lot longer than Akami's attack, which they were quite quick for the most part. Juicy will fit through that tiny little hole and get this diffuser down, but Epistar, they are aware that they're going to put the pressure right onto Knights, knowing that they're going for a shot. The C4 in the air. Epistar with a triple kill. Okami with a massive play onto Knights. They lulled them into a false sense of esteem, and to be completely honest, Knights just took forever.
That defense to me was infinitely better than what we saw from the Knights. It drained so much more time, as you mentioned. It was, what, about 15 seconds when the Knights decided to try and enter the breach, and by that stage, Okami knew full well exactly where that plant was going down. Almost before it was even being planted, we could see the members of Okami on the defense moving quite swiftly to take that out, and in the end, they were able to overwhelm the attack, who unfortunately just couldn't even get that bomb down. In the end, the C4s were flying out. They had guns to deal with as well, and that was very rough to watch for the Knights. Unfortunately for them, not quite working out. Okami now, they're actually not even going to go above. They're going to head towards lobby, try and secure this match point. If they do it on this objective, then they, of course, they have the freedom to either go split or above. That's a lot of freedom to have on the defense, and this is rough for the Knights. Again, we pose the question, will a bad result on this map dictate how the series will play? Will that maybe lean it more heavily into a 2-0? Still not 100% convinced that will be the case, but there are some worrying signs here for the Knights. They're not playing as well as I probably expected them to.
Well, you brought up an interesting point. You said that it was a better defense from Okami than the defense we saw from Knights, and I think, well, the fact is Akami's attack was better as well. So Akami's better on the attack, better on the defense, and while the scoreline certainly suggests that, since it's 5-2, it's not a good look right now for the Knights. Of course, it's only one map in this best of 3. Coastline after this, and then Oregon, the potential decider if it is 1-1 after Coastline. We're not even done yet here though, but in terms of the play style, and it's going back to when we had that rehost and it was 1-1, and I was saying the main thing to look at is the in-game play. I think Okami have smashed that compared to Knights. Knights just look a little bit lost, where Okami are just solid.
This objective will really put the Knights to the test. They have a lot to clear above. We can see Ippy Style, Specker, I believe Joker as well even. So 3 really key fraggers for Okami trying to hold these positions. I like those X-Kairos on the con wall. That will reduce the ability of Okami to move around freely, which is nice to see. That said, they need to continue to apply this pressure. And Ippy Style isn't backing down without a fight. Does eventually fall out, but Joker, he also falls out the window, finds the first pick in this round. But it is a decent trade there from Josh.
Little run out. Okami are just the ones, though, that are dictating everything right now. Specker goes down, but Dino and Juicy out means that's advantage Okami at the moment. Sejon, Hayward, and Josh need to come up big. Otherwise, it's going to be a 6-2 match point to Okami already. They've got the numbers. They're on defense. Now, wow, that's it. This is a slaughter, guys. This is a slaughter on Consulate.
Well, that is a very rough sign to see. Again, if you're a Knights fan or if you're a Knights player in the lobby, it's been rough. I don't really see them from this point onwards being able to bring this back. Okami have match point. They can now head above, which traditionally has normally been the more primary side of choice for the defense.
Ooh.
That said, they're even going to go split, so this will be fun to see. We don't see this objective played too much in comparison to some of the other sites. Again, sort of depends on which team is actually playing. And yeah, this will rub salt in the wounds a little bit. If Okami close it out on this objective, it's been a grim one. Knights will have to put this in the back of their minds, just remove it from their minds completely, because when we do head into Coastline, you do not want to have any confidence issues, because they will really shine through there.
Yeah, and I'm going to say, I definitely apologize, guys. You said at the start of this, could be 7-1, could be 7-2.
Locate and defuse bomb.
You weren't far off. Well, yeah, not yet, but it's played like that. You know, it certainly has played like that. You could be forgiven for thinking this, the way that if you just watched the game without actually looking at the scoreline, I would have said it's about 7-1, 7-2 finish. The fact that it's 6-2 right now suggests it as well. And yeah, look, if Knights lose this here on split as well, a 7-2 loss to the start of this lower bracket final, it's not a good feeling. And as you said, you've really just got to put it out of your mind and head over to Coastline and say, right, okay, it's 0-0. Let's just act like it's 0-0 and go to a map we're a bit more comfortable on potentially.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
And again, if you look at the last 3 times the Knights have actually played this map, on every occasion, it was a loss, but it was to wildcard. So I don't necessarily think the Knights are going to be too upset that they've lost this map. Maybe not in terms of the margin. They would have liked it, obviously, for it to be a little bit closer, or obviously to take the map. That would be the ultimate goal. But in a best of 3, it links back to how deep is your map pool, how good is your mental fortitude. If they, again, don't worry too much about this result, head into Coastline and play it as confidently as I'm expecting. I don't see any reason why this won't head to the 3rd map of Oregon, which in my opinion should be the closest of the 3 if we do go that far.
Well, what have Knights got though to show for themselves here? Match point, multiple match points for Okami. Get a reminder, of course, this is a best of 3. Coastline after this. The winner moves on to the grand final. Dino. Oh, that's got to shoot that C4 and does. We see it so often nowadays. It's almost not even that special anymore.
Still a good shot nonetheless, of course, and does leave things in a 5-on-5 as we begin to reach the halfway point in this action phase. Not 100% sure what the approach of the Knights here is. If they can try and isolate Ipistyle and Cutie on this side of the map and find these picks, it could be huge. But if they also follow them with a little bit of greed, it could also cost them the round. So keen to see how this dynamic above sort of produces, how it evolves. I'm not sure if the Knights will try and contest this. I mean, Josh is maybe going to peek the angle now, and this is very much high risk, high reward. Joker joining in as well. This might not end well for the Knights if Okami capitalize.
Yeah, Kami are just putting so much pressure on this second floor right now. We've got less than a minute remaining, and Knights have kind of not really done much other than get onto the second floor. But by eliminating Joker, that's a good start. Never mind, Ipistyle gets the refrag immediately afterwards to restore an even advantage. 4-4, 38 seconds remaining. Oh, Cutie just being spotted by Dino, and Knights have got themselves a way into this. And as I keep saying, that Ipistyle just keeps giving Okami back a bit of a lifeline. 10-2-2 from Ipistyle, who has fragged out here on Consulate. 3-3. Juicy's going to go for the plant and Tellers. C4 from Specker will be able to stop Juicy. 10 seconds left. Sejon and Dino need to get control of the diffuser and start planting it. One has to watch. Unfortunately, a second C4 will do the job from Jack Dad. It's all over. Consulate was all over from the beginning. Okami, 7-2. It's a slaughter fest.
Great way for Okami to kick off this series. We were expecting them to take the map, but they took it in a very dominant fashion. 7-2 in the end, humiliating the Knights there in a couple of those rounds. And it's time for the Knights to pick themselves up, because we are heading to Consulate, of course, Coastline rather, very soon. And the Knights don't have another chance in this best of 3. Ipistyle, 11-2. That was also after the rehost, so it was probably even more than that. Insane performance from him. Has been a little bit of a quieter season from him, in fact, but so far in the playoffs, so far in this best of 3, he's shining bright for Okami.
Well, Okami as a team certainly shining bright after that performance on Consulate. 7-2. Are we in the lower bracket final, or are we in just some random best of 1 that doesn't matter? Because that was not a good performance from Knights. And I mean, we can sit here, we can praise Okami. It was great, and I think we did enough praising of Okami. I think it's fair now that we sort of maybe bash Knights, because that was a really poor performance.
Yeah, and look, when I said in the earlier stages, I believe it was during the rehost or whenever it was, that this might well be a 7-1, 7-2, part of me was, you know, just having a bit of a joke, but part of me probably wasn't necessarily expecting it to be too much more favored towards the Knights, right? Again, if you look at their map history on Consulate, it hasn't been great. I was thinking that maybe in the back of my mind, they were hiding some things on that map. And maybe they were. I know the basement strats were a little bit experimental in the way that they were using that mirror to hold above, for example, but it just did not have the desired effect they would have liked. Okami, on the other hand, they were just doing textbook holds, textbook takes, and they were just working because they weren't making as many mistakes. And that's the thing. The Knights made so many mistakes that they just continued to sort of pile up. And if they do the same here on Coastline, it could well be a 2-0, which I was not expecting. So they need to pick themselves up really quickly.
Well, they certainly do need to turn it around. They have to put Consulate out of their head and forget all about that 7-2. We head to Coastline, and Knights really need to step up. Okami, though, well, one more map win, and they move on to the grand final.
no signals, no signs. Girl, you be tripping. no lie, nah. You said you're not set by. I flew in all the way for this. I'm not here to waste your time. I just can't give you vibes, you changed a bit. Girl, you mad teasy. I don't mind leaving, just let me know. She told me take it easy. Hey, yeah. I just came here to make y'all feel good. You know what the message is. Suddenly you with me now. You know what the message is. I be running wild for you, babe. You know what the message is. I don't have no patience. Ain't no conversation. Suddenly you with me now. You know what the message is. I be running wild for you, babe. You know what the
Well, not a great start to the playoff final day for the Pittsburgh Knights. Fortunately, they've got at least another shot here on Coastline coming up. They're down 1-0 to Okami, who definitely showed up on their map pick. 7-2 victory, guys. It really was very one-sided.
100%. Incredibly dominant there towards Okami. No looking at all, really, for the Knights throughout that. We saw Knights try some experimental strategies at times, but look, they just didn't work, and Okami read into them like a book, really. So that does set the stage maybe for a 2-0 in favor of Okami, but I'm not so convinced. I still think the Knights are a good shot here on Coastline, and we should still head to that third map of Oregon.
What kind of Knights team is going to show up, though, right? They've got to really put that Consulate performance behind them. And hopefully if they do that, then maybe we can see the Knights that we're used to seeing show up on Coastline, which if they can win on their map pick, Oregon would be the deciding map. And I know you said off air, guys, that if it does go to Oregon, it would look very much an either way sort of situation. Regardless, before we get to Oregon, we've got to get through Coastline. And of course, Knights would have to win. It's do or die time right now for the Pittsburgh Knights here on Coastline. It's their map pick. It's their last chance.
Coastline is a map that we haven't seen Okami play a whole lot of in recent time. In fact, we have to go all the way back to day 12 of Six Masters 20 regular season, where we saw them take down Elevate 7-5. Before that, they actually took on Ferox and lost it 6-8. So Okami do have scarce results heading into this one. Maybe they've been working on this map in scrims and outside of officials. Time will tell. The Knights, though, they're a little bit better on this map on paper, so should have the edge. Two very interesting bands coming through. The Thatcher, we don't see a whole lot here on Coastline, but it is a little bit of a comfort pick for some of these teams. But that Yana, that really stands out to me as an unusual one from Okami. The Knights, I guess, maybe leaning into it a little bit in their play style to help with that map control, those map takes. So I really like that. First time we're seeing it banned ever in Six Masters or Oceanic Nationals, I believe. And to round things up, it'll be the Valk and the Malusi. So nothing standing out there as being too unusual.
Nothing too crazy. Yep, 100% agree with you. Do you still think this is going to go to OT, though, on Coastline? That was your little guess, I guess, before this all started?
Throwing me under the bus here a little bit. That was meant to be top secret information, but
top secret information.
I do believe this will go OT in favor of the Knights. I'm basing that off the fact that the Knights had a pretty rough first map, and it might take them a little bit to find themselves here on Coastline. Add on to the fact that they're also starting on the defense, so the unfavored side. So Okami might be able to mount some rounds on the board here and really apply the blowtorch to the Knights a little bit. But I do still think in the end that the experience that the Knights have on this map should pull through.
It's interesting you say unfavored side though, because Coastline, is there really an unfavored side? Like, is it that much of a hindrance being on defense? Realistically, I think you could. It's a lot closer to 50-50 than say certain other maps. That's for sure.
True. I mean, I can have a quick gander at the stats.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to go full dev harder. But
all right. Well, it got played twice in the regular season, as listed on Siege GG, which I think has omitted a couple of matches. But for the sake of this, I'll just go with the 2 matches. 38% win rate on the defense. So.
Ooh. Okay.
10 seconds to insertion.
I mean, statistics you cannot argue with those. Numbers never lie. So for the Knights though, they will be on the statistical unfavored side. See how they play it here. And obviously it's not even just sort of winning and losing at this point. They've just got to play better in these rounds too. Start fragging out a little bit more. Try and find these opening kills a bit more often as well. Feels like it's just Specker and Epistar that just keep finding opening frags. Cutie as well was finding a lot too. Epistar just pushing straight on into cool vibes. Was able to get one. Fortunately, Dino pushing up the stairs as well. Gets those refrags. And well, that's it. The round's over.
Yeah, an aggressive take there from Okami, or at least attempt to take the site. It was not even a minute in towards the round. In fact, it was about 30 seconds into the round where they just decided to yeet straight in towards the site. But the Knights, they hold on. They get the first round. It's a nice confidence booster for them. And I have to question a little bit the thought process of Okami there. On Consulate, for example, they played measured. They played quite at not a slow pace by their standards necessarily, but at quite a consistent pace, and the fact that they didn't really go for any rushes at all throughout. So not sure exactly why they would do that here in the first round of Coastline. Maybe they thought that if they got that round on the board, the Knights would really then be under the pump. But I feel like that's probably just given Knights the confidence boost that they need on this defense.
Oh, well, it's only one round. And I think maybe the mindset there for Okami was to just sort of go in, guns blazing, blitz them, catch them off guard potentially, find a few opening frags. I mean, they obviously got one. Epistar getting that opening frag, but and who was that on? Seijo was the only one to die, so there you go. But ultimately, it was, yeah, as you said, a bit of a strange one from Okami. And look, maybe there was a one-off. Maybe it's just like, all right, that didn't work. We tried something a little bit crazy, something a little bit different. Thought we'd catch them, didn't quite. Let's go back to being a bit more measured, methodical. And look, obviously a map like Coastline, you can do those sort of fast pushes. Guys, it's a possibility compared to a lot of other maps, but it doesn't necessarily mean it works.
10 seconds left.
100%. I'm not expecting it to be brought out again. I mean, unless Okami want to do something crazy and attempt another rush, because now the Knights are probably thinking what we're thinking, that they won't, but that is very unlikely. Okami, I believe they should be playing that sort of measured play style that we did see on Consulate. Clear out these players from these key positions, try and go for maybe a more default plant. But, I mean, they're already trying to clear this really quickly. They're all snaking together. I don't think they're going to rush in off the back of that, but Specker again gets the opening pick. So that's 2 opening picks now in favor of Okami. We saw a very similar story on Consulate. But the thing was that these opening kills weren't always actually capitalized upon. So Okami need to make sure they do that. And that's not a great result in return. Dino does get the trade.
Knights only got 1 opening kill on Consulate, and yeah, that trend is continuing here, at least onto Coastline for the time being over the first 2 rounds. As you said, at least there was a retrade, so it's 4-on-4, but Okami just continue to play with this sort of fast-paced style on Coastline. May or may not work by the time it's all said and done, and maybe just for the time being, they do slow it down a little bit. You would hope they slow it down a little bit. Specker just pushing into Hookah now onto the 2nd floor and look to get a bit more of that vertical control. Definitely don't just go guns blazing in onto the site.
This This is the more measured sort of take that I'm talking about. Specker from above using the breaches to try and clear these safer positions, if you would, inside of the red bar. And that will really try and enable the plant to go down next to where Ippy Style is. Of course, he is the one that does have the diffuser in hand, and he'll be looking to rush in, try and get that plant on towards the couch. So this really is a key round for both Specker and Ippy Style to pull off their roles, with the assistance, of course, of Cutie and Joker, who are roaming around a little bit on the attack as well. I do like the fact that the Knights are just holding their positions at the moment, but the second it comes to that execute, they need to be really mindful that they're aware of the control that Okami do have around the map and above.
Well, Ippy Styles actually made his way into Sunrise, and he's going to get this plant down. So there was a minute left on the clock. That's now going to become 45 seconds. Trades are out. 2 versus 3, though, now in favor of Okami. Specker being involved. Cutie from above can't find the frag. It's Hayward and Sajon versus Ippy Style and Cutie. With the diffuser down, Ippy Style can watch it. And Sajon and Hayward pushing up through cool vibes. They go back down over towards the site. Ippy Style's not very far away from this position, Gus.
Should be able to just pre-fire the angle. He hears the sit-down Q of Sage on the diffuser, swings wide, hits 1, and hits 2. That was a very clean round from Okami. They did their jobs very well. They got those positions set up. Free plant, free post plant as well for them, really. And that's a good response after what was a pretty iffy first couple of rounds for them. No, first round.
Well, 1 round iffy, maybe. Tried something, didn't work. That's fine. This was a little bit intriguing from the little snake throws, but a nice early plant from Ippy Style, and Okami just, well, a little bit more of a measured approach in the second round, paying dividends. And it's tied up 1-1 on Coastline. We do go back though to Blue Bar and Sunrise. Knights will be looking to rectify the issues. But I thought it was just well played from Okami in the end. Knights didn't necessarily do anything too bad. And so far, at least on Coastline, it looks as if they're playing quite a bit better than Consulate. So it does at least bode well for their chances of evening up the series.
That's exactly right. That was really just classic Coastline, if you would, for Okami. And there wasn't a whole lot that the Knights could do once they found themselves in that sort of plant or execute phase of the round to actually deny it, and then of course retaking it after that was going to be near impossible. The one thing that they could maybe try and do in this round to prevent that from happening so quickly is place Sage near that default position behind a shield. We have seen teams try that in the past, but it looks like he's not actually going to do that. So this position we can see right now on the map near that reinforced wall, that should be free real estate again for Okami. If they get that open, they should be able to just send a player in and get that plant down in a similar fashion. So I'm not sure what the Knights are doing different in this round to try and prevent that from happening, but something needs to be done to stop the control being given from above and that plant going down so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it was, what, a minute left on the clock when that plant went down, which is a lot of time for Okami. Ippy Style clearly feeling like he just had free reign in Sunrise. Sage gonna deploy that shield. And can just try and buy a lot more time this time out compared to the second round. Certainly doing a better job this time, Knights, in defending this area. As Jack Dad and Cutie make their way into Hookah, they will be able to gain that vertical control. Dino on the other side of the map, though, along with Hayward. This could be a big 2-on-2 at some point, especially if Hayward continues to creep ever closer. But look at that little death hole.
I do like this from Hayward. He's trying to be in a position to maybe catch these players on the vert off guard.
Attackers recovered the bomb.
Question is, will he be shut down without having any impact? And so far, he hasn't had that impact. Maybe he'll be able to find Specker here, who doesn't seem aware of this position, but he misses the shots. Specker only taking a little bit of damage in the end, a little bit in response as well from the Zofia, but look, maybe that will stop them from holding these positions above comfortably, but it still looks like Cutie is just chilling above here. And this is what we saw in the last round with his vert shutting down that plant denial, and it could well be the same story well over again.
Well, it feels like it was like a one and done sort of situation.
Located a bomb.
Gave away the death hole idea. I know, and Hayward probably just going to go back down now over to the first floor. Ippystyle's actually going to get gassed out from that plant, and he got taken down extremely low. 40 seconds left, and this has been defended a whole lot better from Knights this time. Specker somehow just catches the top of Dino's head. That's actually the first frag of the round. 30 seconds left. Ippystyle is getting the diffuser down, but he loses his cover, loses the guy that was really covering for him, and Ippystyle is eliminated. 20 seconds left, though. 3 versus 2. Okami do have the numbers. Unfortunately, do still have a bit of time here to make something work. Hayward needs to get at least one here in pool entrance.
He's in a great position, can swing wide, but he needs to find 3. He doesn't even find the first. Whiffing his shots, Joker makes him feel a little bit sore after that one, finding that pick. Yeah, not quite sure how those shots didn't quite land, but either way, it was very similar to the last round. The only real difference was the fact that Juicy on the smoke was able to delay for a significantly longer period of time, but it only delayed it to the point where the Knights could then try and rush in towards site, and that's when we saw the vert basically shut that down altogether. Yes, Hayward did deny the plant, I believe, and Ippystyle was dropped, but the damage was already done by that point, and we saw it was left in, what, the 2-on-3, then the 1-on-3, and unfortunately the Knights just not in a great position to close that one out, and they will head to kitchen. Happy that they're not attempting that side for the 3rd time. I would have been a little bit concerned.
It was better, though. I mean, Coastline has been better than Consulate so far, at least for Knights. But that last round in particular was better defended, and you could see it. They just didn't get any reward for it. I think they would have been deserved winners in that particular round, especially the defense from Sage in Sunrise. Don't come away with the chocolates, though. And now they find themselves 2-1 down to Okami. Kitchen service. You talk about the 38% win rate for defenders on Coastline. Knights won't like that statistic unless they can get a win here. I mean, if you look at those stats, then essentially 2-4 is not even that bad at the half as a defender. And if you can get 3-3, you're pretty happy.
Attacker's objective is to defuse
Yeah,
the bomb.
that's exactly right. That's why I want to see the Knights continually just change up the objective that they're playing unless they are 100% convinced that they can right their wrongs. I mean, look, in that last round, to their credit, they did a much better job in delaying that plant, but they still didn't quite deal with the vert. That really was the Achilles heel, if you would, in that defense. So they head towards kitchen now. Yet to see this site in play. I wonder what Okami are going to do here. It looks like they'll probably do the same thing of gathering control above. It seems to be their preferred way of approaching these sites. And of course, Coastline does facilitate that playstyle. That said, the Knights, it looks like, have invested some manpower above, I believe I saw earlier. So it won't be a free take necessarily for Okami. And yeah, we can see Hayward holding 90, Sage, Dino, I believe, as well up there. So not going to be free real estate at all for Okami. They'll need to try and fight them out, or maybe they could even go for a horizontal take. We're seeing strong blue bar presence at the moment.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
2 minutes.
Thunder's next.
Again, a trend that has continued well and truly over to Consulate has been these opening deaths for Knights. Constantly down 4-5. Even if they're able to trade back and get it to 4-4 relatively quickly, it's just a bad trend to have continue. Ippystyle Joker do have to be wary of Hayward, though, sitting on cool vibes. And he's going to now just swing out. Gets Ippystyle. Didn't quite get Joker, who does have the diffuser. And now obviously has the information of Hayward's position. And elsewhere on the map, it's Jacked Out who got Dino. The refag from Sage, swing on in. Hayward. Well, I thought Joker would have just been watching that, expecting that swing to happen. It's a 2-on-2 with a minute remaining.
Still winnable for Okami. Of course, that diffuser has been dropped in the default position inside of kitchen. Not sure whether or not Hayward is aware. Of course, no points on the board, so he would have actually had to physically see that diffuser drop. Juicy's close by. Here's the sound cue. Also, went to his hard left. They pinch him out so well. Hayward needs to clutch up here, but Specker, my word, just completely shuts that down. Another solid attack from Okami.
Yeah, it's not looking good for Knights. It's really not. We have to go. They haven't won, firstly, 2 rounds in a row. This entire best of 3 hasn't happened. And we've played 13 rounds. They've won 3 out of those 13 rounds now over 2 maps, Consulate and Coastline. Look, they head back to Hooker Billiards, which they were successful on in the first round for Coastline. They have to win it again, but yeah, there's that old adage, you know, you say like, oh, okay, well, if they lost a certain site, like Blue Bar Sunrise, all right, they would have learnt from their mistakes. Second time, surely they fix up those mistakes. You can say the same now here for Okami. That first round was not very indicative of how the rest of Coastline has now played out, where that first round was just a blitzkrieg. It was just some random push-in attack that literally the entire round went for 30 seconds. I don't sense Okami will do the same again here. So this is not exactly like a fortress hold for Knights. They're going to have to fight hard for this site, a lot harder than the first round.
Yep. Basically stole the words out of my mouth. I was going to make the point that if you look at the round history, you'd probably say, oh, the Knights won this round, they're heading back here, so they should be able to secure this, get it back to a 2-3. But Okami played that round to the polar opposite that they've played the last 3, right? The last 3 have been a lot more calculated and just classic Coastline in the sense that they were just taking the time to establish positions vertically and then flushing out players inside, etc., etc. Whereas that first round was basically a kamikaze rush in towards site, which didn't pay off. So if Okami on this occasion decide to play it a little bit more methodically, maybe get some control from below or go for a map sweep across from bedroom, then the Knights will really be put to the test. And if they lose this round off the back of a calculated Okami attack, then I get a little bit scared. That's not a bad start though for Dino. That's Specker taken off the board as well. Specker has been quite dangerous so far this afternoon, so it is a good opening pick, albeit a pretty unorthodox position, and Dino's actually going to decide to hold it. If I'm him, I'm just backing off. Now, that said, there's also Hayward here to support, so wow, the Knights are really getting in their face early on the entry.
There's a second one as well from Dino, and well, maybe Hooker and Billiards are the saving grace for Knights potentially, because the way this is shaping up, 2-4 at minimum, it's not bad for Knights. Obviously, there'll still be one more round to go after this. But obviously, the round's not over. I mean, we've seen plenty of 3v5 victories already so far, even in the playoffs. Hayward just going to swing out. Quick headshot onto Joker. That will probably secure the round. And Okami have just almost been attacked by Knights, really. I feel like Knights are the ones who are on the attack right now.
Yeah, this site playing out so weirdly. It's almost like the first round, which the Knights won. Okami full centered on the attack, but this time it's been a full send on the defense. Full aggression from the Knights, not backing down without a fight. They got the opening pick, still persisted to try and find a second and then a third, and it paid off. They haven't actually lost any of their members on the defense as of yet. They should be able to close out this round. Okami only have a minute to work with, and Hayward, for example, still running around being a little bit of a madman. Only 2 bullets left in the commando, and he's still peeking these angles. So, this objective is really producing some weird results, but at least if you're a Knights fan, this is a good one for you. 2-3 should be the scoreline, and then they can start trying to maybe get that even end to the half, and Hayward just wallbangs him through the catch. I didn't even know you could do that, so there you go.
Well, it just keeps the hopes alive for Knights. Had they lost this round, I would have thought that it would be a long, long way back. They could have been the potential for a 5-1 half, which even despite a 38% win rate for the defenders, is a shocking half when you also then look at it with Consulate. So it's a good round win for Knights, but now they're going to do something that they have not been able to do for the entire best of 3, and that's win 2 rounds in a row.
Key decision as to which site they attempt now. Of course, Hooker's the only one that they have actually successfully defended, and they can't go there again. It's really, do they go kitchen, which they lost once? Do they go blue bar that they lost twice? Do they maybe even go penthouse with mirror on the board? It looks like they will attempt blue bar again. And you guys at home can't see this, but Xenox and I, we have our tracker spreadsheet here. We're working on it together, and Xenox has already put it down as an Okami attack. So look, I'm going to go Knights because we all know how strong the caster curse sometimes is. That said, they need to pull something big out because the 2 defenses that the Knights have lost on this site have not been very convincing at all, and Okami have been quite dominant in taking it.
Look, in saying that, maybe third time's the charm for the Knights, because it is the third time they're going to get a shot on this final round of the half. And at the very least, regardless from here, 2-4, and I mean, we looked at the stats and we said, all right, a 2-4 half on defense Coastline really is not that bad. I think if it does end 2-4, I think we head to overtime. I really do. I think we'll just see a sort of a flip and a repeat in the second half. But really, for the Knights, if you lose this again,
5 seconds remaining.
I mean, it's a free shot, but if you win it, and you do win it for after your third attempt, 3-3 just puts a spanner in the works for Okami and where they're at here on Coastline. They've looked good, Okami. Knights have looked better than they did on Consulate. Final round of the half. And we'll see how they're going to play this one out. Because if they do play this in a similar manner, which the first 2 rounds on Blue Bar Sunrise, Okami basically had a very similar strat both times. And if Knights have done their homework and they adapt on the fly like they should, will they be able to counter Okami?
Well, if you look at the operator selections in the setup, to me, it is screaming the same as the last 2 rounds they lost. They haven't brought any hard breach denial to stop these walls from being harder to open. They also haven't positioned a player next to the bomb chassis like Sage to slow it down even further. Instead, they're trying to play deeper in towards the red bar. But that also comes with its own issues, right? Because Okami most likely will just head above, get that area for free inside of Hookah and start raining down bullets from above. So I'm not sure exactly how the Knights are expecting this round to play out any differently. And with QD getting that opening pick, it only increases the likelihood of Okami taking this round.
Not over just yet. There's one back at least from Hayward onto Ippy Style, who has been a very big fragger so far in this series for Okami. Still Cutie and Jack Dad are going to push into Hookah. Sage putting pressure from Cool Vibes, although Cutie's going to just send him down the stairs with a bit of damage as well to boot. We'll get a round on our hands. It's just not going to be as cut and clean as the other 2 rounds on Blue Bar Sunrise. Knights are definitely not going to go down without a fight. They're going to make Okami earn it even more so than the previous 2 rounds on this site. Minute 12 seconds remaining. But now in Hookah, they can really open up the floor with Cutie and get a bit more of that vert control while Specker will eventually push in.
4 and 4 minutes to go. Again, looking like Okami trying to get in a position to get that default plant down. Good clear of the Evil Eye will aid in that. Again, limiting the Knight's ability to deny the plant, limiting that information they even have on the plant. And sometimes it has felt like these plants have been going down for free and the Knights haven't been 100% aware that they actually are being stuck. So look, I'm very skeptical that the Knights can take this round. Cutie is still probing above and Joker could hold the Cool Vibes cross as well. This will be a tough plant to deny. And if it does go down, it's going to be even tougher to retake that side. If Specker finds this pick, it will probably close out the round, but he does narrowly miss.
Specker pushing in, that could allow Jack Dad to push in slowly behind him. He was just getting eaten up by that gas canister. And Knights were expecting a similar push from Okami, and Okami went for a similar push. Knights win the round, and it gives them a massive amount of hope for the remainder of this map.
I'll just change
just edit, yeah,
the spreadsheet, yeah. Power of the caster curse, and I mean, even I cursed it, right? I was setting that up to be an Okami win. It felt like they were in strong positions, but the Knights, from that sort of kitchen-esque area, were able to hold on for dear life. Hayward's going to need a back massage after this map, I tell you. He's been absolutely carrying this team on a couple of occasions. He's getting so many key picks, it's ridiculous. He's getting opening picks as well on top of that, which is always a sight to see. Oh, all right, 3-3. For me, that probably is indicative that the Knights are slightly on top here. If we want to, again, just base that off the win percentage. I would argue that 2 of the defenses they won were probably more so mistakes from Okami than necessarily extremely well-played rounds by the Knights. But with the dynamic changing, with those sides changing, all of that's really irrelevant. And now we get to see what the Knights can bring to the table on their attack.
And for the first time in this series, they were able to win 2 in a row. So things are looking up for the Knights. They go to the better side. They've won 2 in a row. It's, of course, their map
Attackers
pick.
have located a bomb.
Ultimately, I don't think that they would be too concerned as of right now, even if the rounds they did win maybe were because of Okami's slight misfortunes. But, well, it doesn't matter how you win it, as long as you win it. And we do go to Hooker Billiards, which was actually successfully defended twice by the Pittsburgh Knights. 100% win rate. We'll see if, well, now that they switched to the attack, if they're just as proficient on attacking the side as they were on defending it.
A roam below here for Okami, maybe trying to just slow down the ability of the Knights to pressure from below. I'm tipping the Knights are probably going to try and execute a map sweep. Lean into sort of their play style. Yeah, as we can see, they're taking control now of VIP. Specker, I think, might have actually been spotted there by Sage, so he's a little bit lucky to get away with his life, but no one there really to cut him off in the end, so just a little bit of a time waster for the Knights, who might be a little bit worried about Specker late round, but so far their progression has been alright. They've now got control, of course, of the VIP. They can cut off the cross between the site, and this will sort of act as a little bit of a base for them for the rest of the round, a little bit of a beachfront, if you would. Very difficult to be flanked unless something crazy happens. You might need to be a little bit worried about C4s from below, but unless Okami are confident in their intelligence in that room, they're probably not going to risk eating C4s just yet.
Minute and a half remaining. UC and VIP. Spy to Hookah. Knight setting up well here. Coming in from essentially the south and the north, so to have 2 different avenues at least for now is a good sign. Cutie down below on the Mozzie. Dino's positioning though suggests this is going to be a billiards plant. And Cutie from down below might be the one to disrupt it the most, especially if he can land a significant C4 at some point.
It's the C4 I was talking about, and maybe they have some more intel in this side, or just Cutie with his intuition will be able to go for these picks. Oh, they're stacking together as well. Oh, Cutie does find one. Could have been a whole lot worse as the Knights now push deep. Sage goes very deep, not retraded just yet, but Joker eventually is taken down Ippy style as well.
God.
Now Cutie is left in a 1-on-4, has to retake up White Stairs, progress through luggage. It is effectively a 1-on-3 with Sage down. Will probably be picked up though, and this is going to be a challenge, of course. Cutie did use that C4, only now has the Roni in hand. Downs 1 though. Keep in mind Sage is low, so there is a small chance of this being winnable. Main window is being held though, so the post-plant positions from the Knights, at least from my point of view, are very strong, and they should be able to hold on. Cutie flashed as well, so look, a good round from the Knights in the end, and Cutie's just going to be able to pad the stats a little bit here potentially.
Not even going to be able to do that. Knights securing their first attacking round. They do take Hookah Billiards, and that means they've won 3 rounds in a row. Just after Okami had won 3 rounds in a row themselves as well, and they do take the lead for the first, or for the second time actually on Coastline, since they were up 1-0. So 4-3. Not a surprise, I guess, to see them winning attacking rounds, but they do win a site that was not won by Okami on their attack. So good news for Knights even more so. And well, the way this is now shaping up, it kind of feels like Knights are in the box seat to win this map.
Yep, I would have to agree. Blue Bar Sunrise be a telling round. We saw Knights have some severe issues, I would probably say, on their defense. Trying to hold this, yes, they won it once, but that was out of 3 attempts. I'm really interested to see how aggressive Okami will set up here. Will they actually try and do the same approach as the Knights, play a little bit more offsite, play longer angles, or will they try and get in the face of the Knights and try and force them to waste a lot of utility early round? It looks like so far They might be playing close to the chassis. I think Ippy is placing ADS devices on the wall. And then we might even see Jack Daddy play in that position, for example, on the Wamai. So this is probably going to play out very differently. Another key difference, of course, as well, is the mute is on the board. Joker bringing that hard breach denial makes it more difficult to flush out this position as well. So the question will be, how good will the Knights be at clearing this location if Okami decide to play it?
Yeah, it certainly seems to be the be-all in terms of whether or not this site is going to be won. Okay, there goes Ippy Style. That's a very early frag, especially for Blue Bar Sunrise. Sage and Dino just basically walking into kitchen. And Ippy Style just gets caught off guard, and what an amazing start to the round for Knights. May not even have to worry at all about that red ribbon position or Sunrise or anything, because now they can just push in from this eastern portion. I mean, there's literally no one over there. Cutie's just watching and waiting, but there's no one for Knights there at the moment. They've got the rest of the site if they want completely open. I mean, Juicy will still clear as much as he can with the Twitch drone, but Dino and Sage definitely causing havoc in kitchen.
Key difference from this attack to what we saw from Okami is the fact that the Knights, as of yet, I don't believe have vert control. If we could have a look at Hookah, that of course will give us a better indication as to whether or not they are actually attacking above. And there we go, nothing done to the floor, but maybe that doesn't really matter. These picks are coming through from the Knights on the horizontal anyway. Oh my word, it's Jack Dad left inside of blue. He's got a bazillion angles now to watch, and the Knights should be able to easily claim this round.
Well, it's not going to be flawless, but it's as close as flawless can get. The Knights have now won 4 rounds in a row as they storm home here on Coastline. They take a commanding 5-3 lead. And Okami just looks shook. They cannot get back into this just yet. And one more round, and it will be match point for Knights and potentially sending us to the deciding map on Oregon.
Just like the Knights, Okami will re-attempt Blue Bar for a second time. Funnily enough, we actually saw Okami lose, rather the Knights lose it twice in a row on their defense. If that trend continues, of course, the Knights will then head to match point, and Okami will need to win 3 straight to head it to OT. I guess that maybe this map would go to OT, but still edge out towards the Knights. But in these last few rounds, if they've been any indication, the Knights should be able to close this one out quite comfortably, I would expect. We will then head to Oregon. That's the 3rd map in this best of 3, and that one should be the closest of all these maps. But look, the Knights, they can't get too far ahead of themselves like I am. They still need to close this out, continue that flow of confidence. And I mean, so far, I'm quite proud of them, to be completely honest. They got decimated on Consulate, so it seems to me like they didn't let that affect their mindset too much, and they are playing their game here on Coast. So far, their game is working, and wow, we don't see Twitch often these days, but there you go. 3 ADS is taken out before the action phase and even starts.
Wow.
Utility meta? Question mark. What is the utility meta? You don't need flashbangs, just bring a Twitch drone. Easy.
Easier said than done, but yeah, Knights just on top in every department right now. Not even just the fragging department, but positioning, utility, round wins, everything that can be going right for Knights has certainly been doing so. And it's a stark contrast, because even some of the rounds that they did win on their defense was more so Okami just slipping up and making a few mistakes. But these last 3-4 rounds, admittedly, have been just all Knights, and Knights all the way. Josh does take a bit more damage than he was hoping to take, and way less dealt than he was hoping to deal. But it's Dino with the opening frag onto Ippy, and once again, Knights in control here.
Again, the Knights getting the opening pick. They've gotten the opening pick in every single one of their attacks so far, and on a map like Coastline, it's very difficult to recover on the defense. It's very easy to be overwhelmed just if there's even one more player on the opposing team. Of course, add on top of that, it's Ippy style on the Jaeger. That's so much fragging force, and Juicy gets the second pick here. So I don't think Okami will be able to hold out for too long here, unless the Knights throw away picks. The likes of Juicy here just need to be patient, just bleed out that utility slowly. They still have plenty of time to work with here. In fact, they still have half the round to go. The Knights don't need to rush anything here at all.
They rush in too quickly, it all can fall apart, but they don't. Juicy comes back and is able to eliminate Cutie, can now also start planning that diffuser, and well, again, it might be that near flawless round, and it is. Only 2 players have died for the Knights in 2 rounds now, as they do gain match point here on Coastline.
Ooh. I'm already getting ready for Oregon here, Xenox. I don't know about you, but this does not feel like Okami are bringing this back at all. The Knights have really shown up here. Last 3 rounds, they've gotten the opening pick, and they've won the round pretty comfortably. The last round was flawless. The round before that, near flawless, or as close to as you can get. So it's up for Okami to pull something out of the hat here. They're going to actually pull out Penthouse Theater. First time I think I've casted this at all in this season. So who knows, could work out. Joker did actually bring the mirror. I would have expected that to be stuck here for a Penthouse. I think he probably will, right? Yeah, so not sure the thought process behind that. Maybe was going to go into something, who knows? But look, we don't see this site defended all that much. Maybe the Knights will struggle with it a little bit, but it also isn't defended for a pretty good reason. It is really hard. There's a lot that can be done by the attack to disrupt this. So keen to see if Okami can actually pull it off.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, you did say they need to pull something out of the hat, and I guess this is something that is a bit risky, but could have a strong reward. In saying that, I mean, they lost Blue Bar Rise, they lost Hookah Billiards. They're on match point, so it's not like they can keep experimenting with those sites. Try something a little bit different, hope for the best.
5 seconds remaining.
But right now, I think, you said, feel like we're preparing for Oregon, and you just wonder if maybe Okami have got one thought process onto Oregon as well at this point. At the very least for Okami, they already are up 1-0 in the series after winning quite comfortably on Consulate. And if this does end up being a 7-3, this is quite comfortable for Knights on Coastline. So 2 very one-sided maps as of right now. Leads into Oregon, which, I mean, which map do you take more out of, I guess?
Yeah, if this does finish 1-1, I really just think it equates to it being a 0-0. It doesn't really lean either way, to be honest, because, again, probably expected Okami to take that first map, probably expected the Knights to take this map. Maybe not in as convincing of a fashion as we are seeing so far from both teams. But that said, though, again, it is a reset, really, for Oregon, which should be a really close map. Either way, though, let's direct our attention to this round. The Knights are attacking Penthouse. They probably haven't attacked it a whole lot outside of maybe some scrims, and it looks like it is a little bit of a pocket strat from Okami. They're leaning heavily into those Goyo shields, the ADS device, to try and soak up some of that utility, but that works out. Joker playing behind one does get the first pick onto Hayward, and that's the first time on the defense Okami have gotten that opening pick. It is traded out though. Dino and Josh both find a pick back, so that's a great response from the Knights.
Cutie eliminated too. Ippy-Star and Spacker as the duo versus the 4 of the Knights. Ippy-Star still just holds this position in theater, waiting for the push from 90. Tage from below. Josh does take some damage, but Ippy-Star loses out to Juicy, and well, this one's in the books. You can write it down. It's going to be 1-1. We're heading to Oregon for the deciding map of this best-of-3 long bracket final. Knights convincing, and they respond after their humiliation on Consulate with a commanding victory on Coastline. 7-3, 1 map to go.
6 rounds straight there for the Knights to close that one up. It was a very good performance in the end. Those attacks, just classic Coastline. They were finding the opening picks in a lot of those rounds and able to capitalize. Look at that. Dino and Hayward, the only 2 players in the double digits, both just running around the map, finding picks left, right, and center. And look, I mean, if you want to look just at statistics, Okami have got the 1 round diff heading into this final map, but that doesn't mean anything. Yeah. I think this is going to be an incredibly close last map. It's going to be a banger on Oregon, and I am so keen to jump into this because, like I said, Okami were likely going to take the first map. They did. Knights were likely to take the second map. They did. But I have no idea who's going to take this third map. So I don't know. I'm sure Wildcard are probably sitting in the wings waiting patiently because I don't think even they'll know who they'll be taking on because it's very tough to call.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be tough to call. I mean, you laid it out perfectly there. There was obviously an inkling on Consulate and Coastline as to the expected winners. On Oregon, we certainly do feel like it's going to be that 50-50 sort of nature, the either way. And how ironic after, a regular season of best of ones, it kind of feels like it does come down to this best of one. It feels like we just got those two other maps out of the way. All right, expected results. Here you go. Whatever. Let's get to the map where it can just come down to just about every single round matters. That's the equation of this now. There's no second chances. There's no fourth map after this. We're not in the best of 5 just yet, so it's shaping up to be a classic here, I think, guys.
100%. And these teams, again, they're battling it out for the grand final for their spot to take on Wildcard. If they lose, they're out. They'll also get lesser seeding when the major comes up as well. So this is a huge map for both these teams.
It certainly is going to be a huge map in what has already been a huge best of 3 lower bracket final. We are going to go to a break. When we come back, we're heading over to Oregon to decide who moves on to the grand final and plays up against Wildcard.
But you know I'm a bad little mama. I got moves like Madonna. Don't tell me cause I move when I'm gonna. I'm not afraid to lose, I am a prima donna. Don't you see, I'm a winner, I'm a queen. I cause no scene if you work with me. Don't stop me cause I fight when I wanna. I'm not afraid to lose, I am a prima donna.
Step out as a motivator. Let them know that the weight's up. That's how we know when we level up. Ay, that's how we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up.
Back against the wall, still I'm standing tall. Know about the ball, I got my fan with me. All we know is ball to empty out the mouth. The chosen one they call, I take my fan with me. Know about it if you tell, know you're breaking codes. But your credibility and all fall like dominoes. Can you really take a stance? All I wanna know. Need me real ones when it's time to go. Stepping in, elevator. This is to all the haters. That's all we know when we level up. Yeah, that's all we know when we level up.
Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? You know we fall and we get up. Level up. All we know about is level up. Are we ready not to level up? It's time, get up. I found out I'm not alone. 'Cause I'm just like you.
It's 1-1 in this lower bracket final, best of 3. Both sides have thrown their best punch on their best maps. We now head to Oregon to decide where we're at.
Yeah, it's been a close one between these two. They took the maps that they picked, so it basically just resets the series. It now goes down to effectively a best of 1 on Oregon, which these teams in the regular season did face off on. It was very, very close. In fact, I believe it went to the very last round there, so probably expecting something similar here. Not sure whether or not I can call who's going to win just because it's going to be so close.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a prediction: Knights 7-5. That's my prediction.
Did you steal that off someone by any chance?
No, I didn't steal it. I didn't steal it from anyone.
okay.
I don't know what you're on about. But look, both teams definitely have shown, I guess, their strengths and some of their weaknesses over the first 2 maps, of course, winning each other. Well, not winning each other. They won their own map picks, of course, as we kind of expected. But now as we head to Oregon, the decided map, the map that's, of course, the newest to the map pool, which has seen, though, a lot of play over the last few weeks. It's down to this: Pittsburgh Knights, Okami. Whoever wants it more, whoever wants to head to the grand final, you got to win. That's it. That's all that remains.
It's as simple as that, really, when you say it out loud, but I don't think the task will be anywhere near that easy. It's going to be a fierce battle, and of course, we kick things off with the ban phase. We have seen some pretty spicy bans already in this matchup. Yana, for example, was taken off the board on the last time, but expect the bans to be really revolving around defender utility here at Oregon. It plays a key part in these defenses, and Okami starting off on that side will want to capitalize. So Thatcher's taken off the board again. That's not shocking by any stretch, even after the rework or the adjustment made to Thatcher, rather, hasn't really changed the ban rate too much here in OCE. Ying actually followed up there by the Knights. This is a big ban. We've seen time and time again in the playoffs, Okami bring the Ying to the table, and that's often off the back of a Jaeger or a Wamai ban. So we might even see the Knights actually combo this with the Jaeger or the Wamai, and that's going to be really spicy. They won't. They'll play it a little bit safer, take the Kaid off the board, but I do think that just taking that Ying off alone will have a significant impact on how Okami approach not only their attacks, but maybe even the ban phase. Maybe they were considering a Jaeger ban or a Wamai ban, but they might not commit to that now. They do actually still commit, so Wamai taken off the board. But yeah, all right, this is a good ban phase. I'm keen. This is going to be close. This is going to be so close.
It better be, otherwise I'm holding you accountable, guys, because you keep going on about overtimes and closeness. I mean, so far
I was right on the first 2 maps, albeit I did pick
okay.
OT on the second. But in terms of results, you know,
Yeah, it's a funny looking OT when it goes 7-3, but
yeah,
whatever. I'll give you a break. I'll give you a break. We've seen enough of Oregon now, haven't we, over the last couple of weeks to sort of get a feel for it. I know I like to repeat it, but basement going to be very difficult for the attackers to take basement. Does happen. Very low win rate, but but then it comes down to kids and dorms. And the last time we were here, it did come down to kids and dorms. I keep saying it, but it does.
It always does.
It's a very, very important site. But you made up the greatest point, is that why are we not seeing more kitchen?
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
Yeah,
defended by
well, it
attackers.
does have one of the high defensive win rates. Again, I don't want to be banging on it about it too much, but I'll just briefly mention it. In the matches that were played in the regular season, the ones that were tracked by CGG, you can see that they were actually experiencing a higher win percentage on the defense on those sites compared to the likes of Forms, which I believe off the top of my head has actually been pretty attacker-sided here in OCE. So I don't want to see teams necessarily relying just on dorms. Of course, keep in mind that there's less sites, that less round cracked on the other sites, so the sample size is a little bit smaller. But I don't want to see these teams just heading to dorms for the sake of it, time and time again after they win basement, or eventually once they win basement. I want to see them mix it up a little bit, try and bring something new to the table. And this is the time to do it, right? Sure, you don't want to expose too much heading into the grand final. Wildcard for sure will be sitting back watching this, but you have to do something right to try and make the grand final. There's no point putting in half an effort when you could go that step further and actually make it all the way to that final match.
Totally agree with you guys. I usually do totally agree with you, and in this case, I totally agree with you. I also love the Monty pick here as well for Knights and Juicy. Although, not a good start, because Joker just swings out. Well, I don't even know if he swung, really. Just held the angle. And Dino does get eliminated. Jack Dad's going to be downed. This is a hectic start to this basement defense for Okami. There's a lot riding on this opening round. You've just freshly been beaten on Coastline. It's a site you should be winning as the defenders. You got a Montang in your way over at Bunker. That wall obviously is the objective. Get that open. Josh, though, just takes out the head of Specker. Probably didn't even need to peek that. That gas canister not really going to be effective. And now they've got to also watch these boiler stairs. So there's 2 avenues right now that Knights are pushing through.
Yeah, and in all of the Oregon matches I've seen so far this season, this is probably the most damage done in the first minute of a round, particularly on this side where it's normally heavily on utility or based around playing around that utility. Juicy getting very aggressive. They did find that pick, hip fires and does damage DP style. Hits him twice, I believe, as well. So this is a lot of early round aggression from the Knights. They're not worrying about this utility at all, just trying to gun down their opponents. Now they have the man advantage. They need to be mindful that Juicy does have the diffuser in hand. So don't get too aggressive there on the Montang, mate. Just swing around, maybe go for the default play it here if you can clear Cutie out, and then you should be in a good position to try and win this round out.
Oh, Cutie just taking a lot of damage running back there. Jack Dad's low, Ippy Star's low. I don't think Knights could have asked for a better start to this round. The round's not over yet, though. Still got 50 seconds remaining. And as we just saw, made it a 3 versus 3. That didn't last very long. Advantage back over to the Knights with a 3 versus 2. C4 from Jack Dad. A little bit early with that, and then through the crossfire of Sage, picking up a quick double to close the round. Knights make a statement here on Oregon by taking out the first basement site.
Big statement at that as well, right? We know that this site is quite often won by the defense, and if it is won by the attack, normally it's really close, really tight, and comes down to these late round executes. But on this occasion, the Knights were in their face straight away. Sure, Joker got that first pick, but then they just used that more so as a cue to push even deeper, push even further in towards blue, right? The clear was pretty effective. We also saw Montang there with the secondary hard breach open up a really nice angle for Sage. So it's good to see that Knights are dipping into their strats a little bit here and thinking outside the box from what we typically see, and it does pay off for the first round, and that is a nice one to get on the board early.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't really basically ask for a better start, and such is the nature of basement on Oregon. I mean, Okami have got not much of a choice but to just keep playing it until, which hopefully for their sake is going going to be here in the second round, because I'm not going to lie, guys, if they were to lose basement as their 2 opening defensive rounds, I mean, I wouldn't call it here, but it would be a very, very good start for Knights.
Yeah, it would be, because if they win this site, yes, it's a couple rounds on the board, but it's more so the fact that that puts pressure on Okami to think about where the hell they're going to try and defend later in this half, because, I mean, let's theorize that they do lose this round, then manage to even win above. Do they head back down? Do they head over to meeting? That really does plant that seed of doubt, and you don't want any doubt in this sort of format, right? It comes down to this final map. Any pressure is only going to be exemplified further when you don't have that second chance. So they need to feel comfortable, and yeah, that Montang is not making them feel very comfortable at the moment. Juicy is really getting in their face here, and it's up to Okami to try and counter this. They have a couple of traps on the board, for example, with the Alamines, but without Legion on the board and without Smoke wanting to use those canisters too early, it's going to be tough to counter him.
That's an early C4 used as well for Cutie. So, and we've seen a few flashes and whatnot as well. So a bit of utility from Okami has been used already, and we've still got 2 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. Knights haven't really done anything other than just send in their shieldy boy to sit back and take the full brunt of Okami's utility. Ping 2.0 on the Vulcan shield of Specker. 2 minutes on the clock, and it's going to be another push through bunker. I would imagine Knights will put pressure on the boiler stairs. Seemingly no pressure through freezer, which typically doesn't have a high win rate for attackers, and it's probably why we're seeing these pushes through bunker and boiler stairs. And so far, it has worked out over the first round for the Knights, and well, this is still a good start as well in the second round. There's nothing wrong with this. They finally get rid of that Vulcan shield. They're pushing Okami back closer to the site. Minute and a half, but a lot of utility has been used for Okami.
100%. I really like Juicy's play here. He doesn't even need to do a whole lot. Just him standing there is enough perceived pressure for not only Okami to take their eyes off other places, but to dump this utility, which they already have. Multiple gas grenades and C4s have already been used up, which does make it more difficult at the end of the round. QD, this is so high risk. If he loses this gunfight and forfeits control of Pillar, the Knights will have a massive advantage in this round. They're trying to suppress fire this location, maybe try and catch Hayward off guard, who picks it really smartly, but Cutie even smarter does find that pick. Make it 2. That's a big play from Cutie and should win Okami this round unless they can bring it back.
Juicy. Oh no, Cutie. Oh, what? Saved by the bell. That's Specker, who was able to eliminate Juicy. Cutie ended up dying anyway, but regardless, as you said, Okami should win the round, and they are going to win this round. Unless Josh can just literally walk in and find a quick double. Picks up the diffuser, 18 seconds. Time is running out.
15 seconds.
Teammates have already ran out. It's only Dino that might be able to help. Joker's going to get this one easily done. And well, Okami do bite back. They win the round, though. They should be winning, so it's hard to get too excited for them. But nonetheless, it does mean, of course, they tie it up 1-1.
Confident players as well there from Cutie. We would be keen to see if Cutie didn't go for that play, what would have happened there. It felt like for the most part, it played out quite similarly to the last round. Juicy maybe not quite having as much of an impact on that Monty, at least in the mid-round, in displacing members on site. He did do a good job in soaking utility, but when you have the likes of Cutie just going for straight up gunfights, it does make it really challenging. Then we saw some great synergy there between Cutie and Specker to take out that Montang. Some good communication there on display from Okami. They close out the round, they even out the man count, but now we head to the big site, Xenox and Storms. This is likely going to be the point of interest for this entire map, no matter who is attacking.
It's my favorite site on Oregon. It really is.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I feel like basement for the most part can get a little bit tedious, but upstairs often opens up some opportunities for some pretty exciting plays.
It's intriguing though, because really it's kind of played usually the same by the defenders, one in attic. Yeah, maybe one might roam around. That's rare depending on the team. One in kids. And then 2 usually up on the second floor. I mean, we've seen, I think, small tower. Sometimes one will sort of sit around small tower. what they do from there is obviously dependent on the player and the teams, but well, Dino almost losing that drone for free, basically, to Cutie. See how Okami are going to want to set up defensively for this, and also see where Knights are going to want to focus a lot of their attack.
So far, it's looking pretty stock standard. I mean, we do have that shielding attic, for example, so if a player decides...
Montang again.
It'll stall out. Yeah, Montang as well. I'm not sure how Juice is actually going to add this to the attack. There's a couple of thought processes here. Could push straight up white stairs. I mean, that's where they're pushing early in this round. Could actually be used to try and squeeze out these roamers as well. Specker's down below, paired up with another defender. If they get squeezed out here, these could be some pretty key picks for the defense. Both him and Jack Daddy on that roam. You need to be really careful that they don't get caught off guard here. It's not impossible to cut these defenders off quite easily from getting back towards the side. And it could even force another defender to come down to assist. If they drop, then the rest of the defenders on side are in a lot of trouble.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
Hello, says Juicy. Oh, never mind.
Oh, did he get down?
Well,
did Joker down him? I don't know what happened there, but Specker's down.
Yeah, I'm imagining that must have been a bit of friendly fire. Specker does get picked back up. Joker's going to need a bit of help too. 4 versus 4 with Sage finding one. He'll get a quick second onto Specker in security. Did get reframed by Jack Dad, who was close by to that exchange. Knights, though, do have the slight advantage. Very, very slight. Dino's got like barely any health.
Bomb located by attackers.
Hayward and Josh versus Jack Dad and Epi style. It feels like, of course, Dino, though, even with low health, can still shoot and can still have an impact here. Jack Dad pushing through kitchen. Just had to look to the right. Look to the wrong side. Does get the down, though, onto Dino because he was so low. I think even he was surprised he got that down. And Josh, all of a sudden, to solo up against Jack Dad and Hippie style. And Okami might just take the lead here for the first time on Oregon.
Both Jack Dad and Hippie style are both low. They're also a fair distance apart here, so a trade will be very, very difficult. Jack Dad as well does not have a C4, so playing below here doesn't really have its benefits unless he is peeking with some of those angles created in the early round. And there we go. He gets the pick. It's not traded. Now, Josh can try and go for the plant. Both players super, super low. It was a pre-play C4, in fact, but it doesn't hit the mark, and Josh falls off the plant, just trying to bait this out. Of course, it takes 7 seconds to stick it. The question is, how aggressive will Jack Dad get? He gets baited out for a second time. Josh seemingly aware as to where Jack is playing. He's giving away sound on the sprint. This is a little bit of a game of cat and mouse, but Josh only has 15 seconds now to work with.
This is well played from both of them, I think, right now. And maybe Jack Dad just maybe playing it a little bit better. The shots are a bit early. Too early from Jack Dad, and Josh is able to land his coming down those stairs. And from what looked like an Okami win, Josh has salvaged the round for the Knights, and they will retake the lead.
This is going to sound super biased, but I still genuinely believe that the Knights deserved that round. Sure, it came down to the 1v2, maybe a little bit of luck involved in how that sort of played out, but I love the fact that they brought that shield early round. We'll get to see it on screen now. Juicy, still not sure if he mallied him and downed him. No, I don't even know, but either way, that was enough to disrupt this whole hold below, right? It was an easy pick there onto the second defender. Sure, Jack Daddy put up a really good fight down here below, but they did enough damage to him in the end for it to prove deadly. So, well played by the Knights. Very good composure from Josh. That was a huge pick there onto Itby, and a second massive one there onto Jack Dad as well. That's a great morale booster to the team as well. Again, mounting some pressure on Okami, who now head back up to dorms. They lose this one twice in a row. Wow, that really opens up the map.
But this was going back to that ever constant conversation. There are other sites that, you know, you couldn't go to kitchen. You don't have to constantly play dorms. But because dorms is so common and commonly played, you got to win it. At some point, you got to win this site.
5 seconds remaining.
We'll see what Okami brings to the table. But Juicy is just sticking on this Montang basically, I think, the whole way through. I don't see where else. If he's going to play it on dorms and he's going to play it on basement, and if we're not going to see much kitchen, Okami are going to have to find a way to deal with it. And maybe they did deal with it quite well in the last round of security, but there were still casualties because of it. And Juicy was still being very much a nuisance. And honestly, may not make the same mistake again. maybe just got a little bit too overzealous pushing into security by himself.
Similar approach from both teams again, right? We have multiple roamers below Juicy, trying to get in position over towards Small Tower to sweep across and flush them out. They'll be greeted by Jack Dad and Specker quite quickly. Josh, in fact, is actually heading the attack. Already taken down one of those Vulcan shields used down below, and you can see the pressure is starting to be applied just slightly here, just enough to put the defenders on high alert.
The way everyone's positioned, it looks like it's a kitchen site. Everyone's literally on the first floor.
It's important that the Knights just don't overinvest too heavily here. I mean, there's almost an opportunity for them now to just go towards the site, right? There's two in security. Cutie's all the way on the bottom floor. If the Knights maybe are aware of that, could cut them off and find the pick, but I don't know, maybe they should
only two upstairs.
send Monty up white stairs. That could potentially be a play. It is high risk, but I'm not sure. It looks like they're just going to try and go for the same clear of security like they did in the last round.
Jack Dad's going to be the first one out of the round. Okay, goodbye to Juicy. There goes the Montang early on again here. 3 versus 3, minute and 10 seconds remaining. This is a very bizarre round. Very, very strange. I haven't even seen kids. Now for the first time I'm seeing it. Everywhere else is the action. And Okami, though, just dropping players. But Ippy and Joker, one on the second floor, one on the first floor. And this is where it makes it difficult, because it's not like they can get the refrag if someone does get taken down. Knights can position themselves for it.
Knights now just need to play patiently. Ippy style, that's a very ill-advised movement there. He gets taken down, so it's a 3-on-1. Joker inside of Kids' dorms getting bombarded by utility. This is going to be a hard one to clutch up. I don't think he has what it takes. The Knights just need to play it smart, play off each other, and they should be able to claim the round.
Well, we've got Joker's theme music here at the moment in the mute jammer. Hayward's going to put down the diffuser. Joker was able to get Josh. 1 versus 2, 45 seconds, and a bit of damage onto Hayward too as he does escape after getting that diffuser down. What can Joker do to salvage this? 1 outside, 1 down below. Just about half health. He is checking down below, and he does find him. Sage, oh my goodness, Sage somehow wins that fight. Big round for the Knights. And unfortunately for Okami, is it just starting to fall away for them?
Ooh, I mean, that was big round there. It's 2 attacks straight now on dorms that they have been successful on. Pressure now starting to mount again for Okami. They do have the comfort, of course, that they can head back downstairs in this round, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm getting the round rotation right, 3rd round. Nonetheless, though, the last couple of rounds a little bit disappointing for them, and I like the fact that Okami are doing something a little bit more different with the aggressive downstairs hold. We do see a couple of other teams that have attempted it, Noble, for example, but maybe not really quite to the extent that the Okami defenders have been trying to pull off. But full credit to the Knights. They are bringing the right operators to the table to shut this down. They keep bringing that Montang, which is just throwing Okami off time after time after time. They're not bringing a direct counter to it necessarily, maybe outside of the smoke, or I guess even they did bring the Legion, but we could see that even that was having a limited impact as well, right? So during this rehost, Okami need to pull their heads together and work out how do we shut Juicy down, because it feels like he's really spearheading a lot of these attacks, which for the most part have been successful. Look at the scoreboard, right? It's 3-1.
Yeah, I mean, Knights have been very, very successful. They've been winning Kids' dorms quite convincingly. I mean, obviously it has gotten a bit close towards the end, but in a lot of those, I mean, I think you said it before as well, you felt Knights deserved it, even though they had to win it in a 1v2 sort of situation, with Josh clutching out the previous round, not the one we just saw, but the one before that. They played better, and just right now, at least on Oregon, it feels like they have been playing better, and you could see it really in the opening round when they took out Basement with the Montang, and just the way that they came to Oregon here with a bit of a plan and a bit of an idea, and they've just been executing it better than Okami so far, and they got a very deserved 3-1. It's not over yet, but it's not looking good for Okami. And I tell you what, yeah, I'm pretty certain we're also going to be heading back down to basement. And if Knights can find another win down in basement, I'm ready to call it. Even at 4-1 scoreline, I'm ready to call it. Based off the statistics, you would think that Knights at the very least get at least 2 of their own basement holds on defense. That puts them at 6-1. So it's a lot of rounds that Okami will need to find elsewhere in the map. They're going to have to start winning kids and dorms, and they haven't been able to do that. 2 rounds that they've lost, they haven't won the site because for whatever reason, players just don't want to go to kitchen. So until teams and players start heading to kitchen a bit more often, the significance is on dorms to win because of how difficult it is actually to win basement. But when you do win basement, guys, it has a big effect, and that's why it's 3-1 right now, not 2-2.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily going to get much easier, right, for Okami. And again, it's not just because statistically this is defender sided, right? But Okami have really the Knights really revolved their bans around disrupting Okami. They took that Ying off the board, and we saw on the first day of the playoffs, Okami continuously bringing Ying to the table, and Noble struggled so much to deal with that. I think Okami have brought it out on the second day as well, if my memory serves me right, and they're playing into that. It favors their aggressive play style, their aggressive executes. I think it was Ippy style that was jumping on that, even Specker as well. So you're putting your key fraggers on this key role, but now you can't, right? Sure, the Mamai's taken off the board, which can maybe aid in playing heavy into nades and flashbangs, for example, to try and facilitate something similar. But it's just not the same as Ying, because of course Ying can just yeet in those Candelas, not blinded herself, and can find these picks essentially for free. But yeah, we're not even at that stage yet, right? So this could get a little bit disastrous for Okami, and it does come down to this next round. I'd be pretty comfortable as well to call it at a 4-1 if they don't win basement. It's going to take one hell of an effort to bring it back.
Yeah, it certainly is. And yeah, as I said, I'm happy to call it 4-1 if they don't win basement. It means it puts a lot of pressure though onto Okami. They're already feeling this pressure, and it's only 3-1 on Oregon. They were amazing on Consulate, but how much of it was maybe just Knights having a really, really bad map versus Okami's performance themselves? Because since Consulate, Okami haven't really done a whole lot right. They've been okay. They've certainly been performing better in these round losses than Knights in their round losses on Consulate, but they're not getting the round wins anymore. It's just dried up. It's just all Knights. I mean, if we look at the streak, they ended winning the 6 last rounds on Coastline. They've now won 3 out of 4 here on Oregon. So it's 9 out of the last 10 rounds that we've seen in this best of 3 have gone in favor of Pittsburgh Knights. So at this point, it's why we kind of expect Knights to kind of take Oregon at this point if they can at least get basement. That's 10 out of 11 rounds. That's losing basement twice on Oregon. You can't be doing that. So in saying that is still a hypothetical. It hasn't happened yet, but it just puts the spotlight here on Okami. They've got to win it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and it raises the question, what do Okami need to do, or what may Okami do to try and buck this trend?
They've got to deal with Juicy in basement.
Yeah, I highlighted it earlier that the Montang is causing a lot of issues. We saw it really facilitating the push in towards blue on basement, on dorms. It was facilitating that push into security that Okami were trying to hold from below. We head into the next round. It will be basement, of course. So, Juicy, he's not even 6 picking it at this point, right? He's just going and always sticking the finger up to some extent at Okami and said, hey, I'm just going to bring the Montang. You guys aren't really doing a whole lot to actually stop me from doing this. That said,
Shieldy boy versus Shieldy girl.
I like this. Sure, Ala would be great with those Alamines to disrupt the push a little bit, but bringing a clash changes up the dynamic completely, because now the Montang is going to find it really difficult to make that ground up. Sure, Jack Daddy might be a little bit exposed if Knights can get that first pick, but I like this from Okami. This is a good adaptation, and it's going to make yellow even messier.
I like it too. It's a bit of fun to see it and how it's going to play. And who knows, this could actually be the turning point for Okami, where they stick it to Juicy and they say, all right, well, look, we're going to try something ourselves here. And if it does work and they do win basement, then obviously I guess we go back to dorms, I guess, for the last round of the half.
10 seconds remaining.
And you would hope for Okami that they can then win dorms.
5 seconds.
Otherwise, it's still going to be very difficult. They've got a lot of work to do, even though the scoreline is just 3-1.
Attackers must
The pressure certainly on Okami right now. Knights off to a great start here on Oregon. It's the third and final map of this best of 3 lower bracket final. Winner moves on. They will play wild card. And the loser of this map goes home. Their day is done. And Juicy will turn the corner. They will see Jackdad in the clash. And it's, as I said, Shieldy Boy versus Shieldy Girl in bunker.
Again, of course, it was 6 picked. So the Knights, this is their first time knowing that the clash is on the board if Jack wasn't droned out in the prep phase. So now the question is, what are they communicating now in the team? How are they going to deal with this? What are they doing to try and clear the clash? Oh my word!
Bye-bye, Jackdad.
They didn't just do that. They combined it with the concussion lifeline. And honestly, the Knights are in a great position now to take this round. Only a minute in, they've already burnt 1 gas canister on top of this as well. That is huge.
Sweep the leg
by the Knights. That is huge.
Oh no. That did not go the way Okami had it planned. And it was when Jackdad saw Juicy turn around the corner, and then Juicy just kind of like took 1 step back and was like, oh, okay. It didn't seem like it phased them once he came back out. They were like, okay, why don't we just do this? Well planned from Knights. And that's probably been the difference. They've adapted better than Okami. Okami has been really lacking in the adapting department, but Joker wins that 1 versus 1 against Juicy. You can wall up supply wall now. A minute and a half remaining, and maybe the round's not over just yet.
Joker does retreat, reinforce the wall, and if the Knights want to enter, Hayward will need to go there and open it up with the ex-Cairo. Sage getting lit up from the top floor of tower. What the hell is Okami doing in this round? But Cutie does find the pick. Question is, will the Knights actually try and hunt him down? The answer so far, no, but Dino does find a trade back onto Iffy style, and they actually have pretty good control around the site now. If Hayward can just hold this position and cut off Cutie, they might be able to trade out on site, but Cutie has actually already made his way back down. That's a double for him in this round. Hayward does eventually collect him, so with 45 seconds left, Knights are left in the 2-on-2.
Knights are going to win this. Look at the health. I mean, look how low Joker is. I don't even think he's got any gas canisters left either. Hayward's going to be able to open up this wall. 30 seconds remaining.
Attackers have located a bomb.
They're on site. They've got diffuser. They've got still 25 seconds. Joker's low. No gas canisters. Josh, though, does take a big chunk of damage. Joker up close. Oh. One was downed, and then the other one was eliminated. Specker Joker couldn't stand up to the mind of Josh and Hayward, and Knights are just running away with Oregon.
Look, I said earlier that basement can sometimes create a little bit of a stale meta and can be a little bit mundane to watch, but my god, that round turned up to 100. The clearance of Jackdad on the clash really was pivotal in opening up that round, and there was a glimpse of hope with Cutie at the top of tower that maybe Okami could pull off something incredible to bring it back. We also saw Joker step up massively to shut down Juicy, but the trades from Knights were so efficient, and they had that composure in the 2-on-2 to close things out. Wow, my heart rate at the moment's getting pretty high here, and the Knights must be feeling it now too. They can sense that they're getting closer and closer to this win, and if they win basement again here, 100% lock it in. I mean, at the 4-1 here, we're feeling pretty confident in the ability of the Knights to win it, even if they do lose this round coming up. But my god, they have positioned themselves so nicely here on Oregon, and Okami need to step up massively, not only in this round, but in their attacks as well to bring it back.
4-1. Ippy style gonna try clash himself. Jackdad back over to the Jaeger, and Okami. Well, look, to their credit, they are trying different things. They're not just doing same old, but the different things, guys, are not working, clearly, evidently. This is the final round of the half. It's basement. It's typically a site that is expected to be won by defenders. Did they just like rush into this bunker area and just try and catch them off? No, they don't. They're not doing anything too crazy. This time around, you'd think Ippy style obviously knows what happened to Jackdad in that previous round. Will not allow it to happen, and it does have quite a few ADSs set up as well.
Ippy style now on the Clash. This isn't something you see every day, or something that I haven't seen before, I don't believe. And again, raises the question, how they try and clear him. So they're throwing in the flash grenades, trying to burn the ADS devices. Josh sitting there ready to try and clear it with a concussion lifeline, or in fact actually disrupt Ippy style, knock him back, and then try and shoot those feet out. So far, the time management not as good as the last round. It was at this time last round that Jack Daddy was in the grave, whereas Ippy style's being able to hold on for a little bit longer here and playing it a little bit more passive. The Knights finding it more difficult to clear the Clash on this occasion.
Well, this just feels like a last-ditch effort once again for Okami. Oregon has not gone the way they would have liked. They're going to really find it difficult as well, I think, to break down Knights on their defense. Cutie does find an open frag, though, at least on the Sage. It's something. A small glimmer of hope, potentially, for Okami. They're a long way back, though, in this map as a whole. Ippy style is just like literally forcing them out. Josh, though! Oh no, Ippy style, why did you not check behind the barrels? He just got baited. Hook, line, and sinker.
Josh.
Oh no.
I wonder if, was Josh on a drone then and didn't even see? I don't even know what happened there, but righto, 4-on-4 now. Clash dealt with, and now Juicy, who's still alive, can try and push this bunker position. Joker on this occasion a little bit more passive, and of course Time on his side can fall back. Juicy a little bit slow, can't collect him to frag him out. And now with 45 seconds to go, the Knights need to position themselves for the plan. I'm assuming Juicy has a secondary hard breach he can use once again in this round to try and open things up. And that's what they need to do. Create as many angles as possible and avenues of entry to shut down the defense, because they are sitting pretty comfortably at the moment in these plant denial positions.
30 seconds remaining. It's do or die for Okami. I mean, we said we'd be happy to call it had they made it 4-1. They did. If they make it 5-1, it's all but over. Dino gives the advantage over to the Knights now with 10 seconds remaining. Juicy does have the diffuser. Does get taken down with that C4 from Specco. Finds that double kill. Coming up clutch. 5 seconds. Dino picks it up. Going for the plant now, but Specco's got a lot to deal with. Hayward did have to do a little bit better there and was not being... What? Knights still won it?
Dino, you are insane. Did
he get off the diffuser to shoot?
Yep.
No, yeah, he got off.
Yep. No, he stuck it. He stuck,
he stuck it. Okay.
Yeah,
jeez.
Yep.
The timing, though. Oh.
That's the question. Do we call it now? It's 5-1.
Well, yeah. I mean, at this point,
it's going to take some sort of astronomical throw for the Knights to lose this. I don't see how Okami are going to disrupt this. Surely the Knights can head downstairs, win the first defense, then they're on 5 match points.
Yeah.
Okami can't make any mistakes really for 5 rounds straight, and that doesn't really matter. Sure, you can lose upstairs twice still if you're the Knights. Head back downstairs and win it again, and you still win the map. You win the series, you head to the grand final. This is a disastrous position for Okami, and at least so far, this map is nowhere near as close as I was expecting. The Knights have just found this 6th gear, if you would, and they're playing so well at the moment.
So, I'm just going to bring up the... So, Okami have won 1 round in this map, okay? We understand that. The time they had last won a round prior to that round was round 4 on Coastline after they had just gone up 3-1. Okami were 3-1 up on Coastline after demolishing Knights on Consulate. The world was looking great for them. If you're a Okami fan, it was sunshine and daisies. Since that point, they have lost 11 rounds and only won 1. What a crazy turnaround.
Wow. Downstairs, of course, the Knights are defending. Josh and Hayward both on an aggro roam. If the Knights can find this opening pick, that positions themselves, of course, nicely in this round. We've seen them get in the face of Okami quite a bit. At least they did on Coastline in a couple of those rounds. Not backing down without a fight, even in those positions where they did obtain the man advantage. So far, it's pretty quiet, in fact, towards blue, suggesting that maybe Okami will go for more of a horizontal take from above. So far, tower control looks to be theirs, and maybe they'll transition that in towards meeting. We can see Specca already in this position as the defenders outside of Josh have actually rotated down below. So this is a very precarious position for Josh, and I'm not sure if he'll hold it for that long. I mean, if he does, he could find a couple of cheeky picks, but he could also be taken down as well.
Yeah, it's hard to see a way back for Okami. Down 5-1. Knights on defense of Oregon. Basement first up. I mean, what a daunting task.
Oh, that's huge. Josh.
Oh, what?
I said if he stays around, he might be able to find a pick. It was high risk, high reward, but it did pay off in the end. So that is the opening pick going in favor of Josh. That's huge in this round. And Joker's taken off the board, which means that, of course, they don't have Maverick anymore. No blowtorch. The hatch is not open. If Jack Daddy wants to come across and throw a Selma on it, it will probably do enough damage to open it with one charge. That it might even need two. And of course, that limits your options on site. So not only is it a big kill in terms of getting that man advantage, but there's a lot of utility lost for Okami. And they might be forced to filter into site pretty hard here, which of course has its own challenges as well. And I don't think even Ippy Style here knows that blue is clear. Finally will confirm it, but you can see Okami really getting stalled out here. 45 seconds left. The Knights can play perfect plant denial now. If they don't make any mistakes, they should be able to close it out. Specker does get one pick back though. That's a C4 as well, probably taken off the board. So that's a pretty nice pick for him.
No more gas canisters available now for Juicy. 29 seconds remaining. I mean, Okami are making something work here. They're opening up that wall. They're getting a bit more of a footing down here in the basement. It's just a matter of time. They've taken so long. They are rushing this a little bit, but Style does find Juicy. While it is a bit of a rush towards the back end, they are finding the frags when it matters. Sage and Dino. All that remains. Dino was able to get jacked. Specker's going to plant that diffuser down. 7 seconds remaining. C4 over. I don't know if that's going to connect. Doesn't even get a chance to explode. In fact, it did. It did get Specker. Even though he died to Ippy Style, Dino makes it a 1 versus 1. Cutie needs to hold this plant. Knights have won the round. Knights have won the round. Okami cannot get anything to go their way, cuz. Nothing. Nada. Zip.
Yeah, a bit of a yikes there on the C4. We're not going to talk about that one. Look, in the end, though, it really should have been a Knights round in the way that they set it up mid-round. They got Joker off the board, and they positioned themselves nicely. There were a couple of weird positionings going on there, right? We saw Juicy, not sure if he was feeling the heat or not, but just running out and getting picked off really easily. Unfortunately, we then also saw Freezer control lost. I believe it was the Jaeger holding that position, lost the one as well. So towards the back end of that round, it was a little bit dicey. And then for whatever reason, that C4 was able to detonate and played a key role in that round as well. So look, unfortunate they're a little bit there for Okami, but at the end of the day, if they hadn't have lost Joker, that round probably would have been a lot easier on that execute. Nonetheless, though, we can't dwell on that round any longer. It's now 6-1 in favor of the Knights. They have 5 match points. It all comes down to Dorm Xenox. It always does. And they could close out this best of 3 right here, right now. If they do so, they will then take on Wildcard in the best of 5 later this afternoon.
Oh, it's rough. It's rough for Okami. We don't even really know what to say in regards to them and how they've sort of approached Oregon. I think the Montang obviously was a big factor for Knights on their attack. They had something cooked up. They showed their hand. Now, Wildcard are probably sitting back and watching and being like, okay, well, what do we think about Oregon? What do we think about Juicy and the Montang on their attack and being able to steal a few rounds in basement, which is usually a very difficult site to take. That's enough to swing the map in favor tonight. So these are the other equations to all of this now. That this is very much shaping up to be a Knights win is what does their future look like up against Wildcard in a best of 5?
Ooh, yeah. Big questions yet to be answered. At least in this round, we can see the Knights similar-ish sort of hold from what we saw from Okami. A couple of players are playing below, but on the flip side, Okami not bringing the Montang. We saw Montang have a lot of success in clearing these positions early round, and look, that's not going to help. That's Ippy Style taken off the board. Where the hell was that? Outside the window. So Ipistol maybe repelling, I assume. Got pre-fired potentially. Sage finds that pick. That's a big one. As Ipistol's been showing up quite nicely here in the playoffs, but unfortunate for him, he gets picked off. Jack Daddy picked off as well, Zedox, to 5-on-3. Plenty of time to work with here, but I don't think Okami will have the manpower.
And at this point, when you're down 6-1 as well, mentally it must be so difficult to even have the mindset of being able to come back to win the round, let alone come back and win the map. It's a 5-on-2, and for Okami, this nightmare on Oregon is about to come to an end. What a best of 3 though. 7-2, 7-3, 7-1. Just incredible. One minute remaining, and it's all up to Cutie and Joker to keep this alive for Okami. But it's certainly hard to see how they're going to make anything happen. And, well, it's definitely not their day. It's not their map. It's Knights who I think were always destined to eventually have a tussle with Wildcard in the grand final.
Head gets sent out from Joker, but it's not going to do a whole lot. He does find a pick. 30 seconds left on the board, but the Knights, they can just sit and wait patiently. Maybe try and hit a style shot to finish things off. It's only going to take a single bullet to finish off the Maverick, and the job is well and truly surely done here by the Knights.
15 seconds left. Joker, no health, 1v4. Well, look, it's been a good season for Okami, top 3. I know they didn't quite have as a finish as they would have liked. They would have liked repeat grand final performances, but it was not to be. 7-1 Oregon, 2-1 in the best of 3 lower bracket final tonight. Congratulations. They move on and they will play Wildcard in the grand final later this afternoon in a best of 5.
Wow. What a performance from the Knights. That last map, we thought it was going to come down to this one, but not as dominant as this. A 7-1. I still can't believe it was that one-sided. What the hell just happened? Okami just never got themselves into this matchup. The Knights outplayed them. They brought adaptations to the board that Okami struggled to deal with. And in the end, they win the match. They win the series. And now they have the big test of taking down Wildcard, which, look, Okami was a challenging opponent. Let's not get that wrong. But Wildcard is probably going to be on yet another level.
Well, Wildcard is certainly going to be very difficult for Knights. I mean, we already saw it in the earlier matchup, didn't we? So they're going to have to hope that they have got something still left up their sleeve, something that they can maybe surprise Wildcard with and give them a really good go at it in the grand final. And, you know, there's always that topic of hiding strats. Well, if Knights have been hiding anything, now's the time to show them in the grand final against Wildcard. It's going to be a very, very, very important grand final, and I can't wait to see how it plays out, that's for sure. In terms of Okami's season and how that it's all over now, I mean, look, 6 Masters, they made the grand final. Oceanic Nationals, they finished top 3 when it was all said and done. How these guys don't have an org kind of boggles my mind. As at this point, I think you can easily claim them as a top 3 team in the region based off 6 Masters, based off Oceanic Nationals. They're constantly up the top, and maybe on another day and maybe on another map, they do find a way to the grand final. It just wasn't today, and it just wasn't on Oregon.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that Okami at the start of the season, they got rid of Mangoes, they brought in Specker, and it felt like for a small period there that it was not going to work out. But then it's almost like they flicked a switch midway through the regular season, and they were on point. They felt like a top 3 team heading into the playoffs. That's roundabout where they do end up as well. And I'm thinking that they're going to build upon this. They've got a lot of time now, of course, until the major and then onwards into the 2021 program. Expect them to only grow, I believe, over this offseason. I don't really foresee them making any roster changes, as I felt like it was working pretty well for them towards the end of the season. Sure, they'll have to lick their wounds a little bit here against the Knights, but you can't win every match. It's important they just learn from this and can move into the future and try and maybe get their revenge in the major.
Yeah, certainly. And looking forward now, I guess, to the grand final matchup, Wildcard versus Knights. Off the back of what we saw from Knights, the fact that it was a very convincing victory against Okami, that must at least show some good signs moving forward for Knights.
Yeah, of course, it's a best of 5 format, and the Knights will have a 1 map advantage against them. Because of wildcards run through the upper bracket, so that does provide its own challenges. Not sure exactly how the veto will play out, but I'm assuming that Oregon might not get played. It's basically been an insta-ban for wildcard all this time, and we literally just saw the Knights demolish Okami on that map. So that's probably something we can take out from this matchup heading into
the other one as well is, do we see Consulate? Because that was very, very bad from Knights. It was a very different Knights.
It might be each team's insta-ban, right? Because they'll get
potentially
they'll get 1 ban each, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, Knights ban out Consulate, wildcard ban out Oregon, and then it's on.
Oh. If we hadn't have seen Consulate play, if we had just seen Coastline and Oregon, and that would have been 2-0, that would have looked really bad for Okami. To be fair, like thinking back all the way to Consulate, I thought they played it really well. Knights just obviously didn't look switched on. It was not a map that really suited them, it seemed like. But since that map, it was just all Knights, obviously, except for the start on Coastline. So, look, deserved winners, and hopefully we'll see how they go in the grand final. Before that, though, of course, we've got our interviews. First one up is going to be Dino. Congratulations, firstly, on your victory in the lower bracket final, mate. Obviously, ecstatic, and the way you guys played from basically after a couple of rounds in Coastline all the way to the end was just amazing.
Thank you. It was, our Consulate game was a bit rough, but we finally closed it out.
Yeah, I mean, talk us through that series. We speculated that heading into the series, it was probably going to be rough on Consulate, and then Coastline would be yours. What were you actually thinking heading into Oregon, right? Because it was a 7-1 in the end. You pretty much smashed Okami. Were you expecting that to be close? I was expecting probably OT, but in the end, you guys just demolished them.
So for people that don't know, we versed them to get to this spot. They actually beat us overtime. So after that game, we practiced Oregon a lot. So coming into this game, we knew that Oregon isn't going to go to overtime, and 100% we're going to win because we practiced so much on that map, and we knew we could demolish them because we pretty much counter showed everything they did.
Yep,
was Consulate a little bit concerning though with the way that played out? I mean, it was a little bit one-sided, obviously, and it just seemed like whatever you guys tried to do didn't work.
Honestly, on Consulate, we actually that against them, we didn't actually do any strats. We said let's just give them Consulate map because we know that we're not going to win it. It's just there's no point showing stuff. We'll give them Consulate.
Don't lie, Dino. Don't lie. Don't lie. I'm not taking that.
We'll take Coastline and Oregon.
I trust you.
So, well, are we going to see Consulate in the grand final?
We'll have to wait and see.
You got anything else, guys?
No, just good luck. You're probably going to need it. Wildcard's going to be a tough opponent, so I wish you all the best. And
Wildcard's going to be hard. Thank you very much.
Yeah, they're going to be very tough. Best luck in the grand final, mate.
Thank you.
Hiding strats, saving strats.
That's a lie.
A lie. Got to give Okami some credit. They did play very, very well on Consulate. It was Okami's map pick, of course, as well. So all things considered, when you look at the big picture, though, best of 3, it's not just a 1 map series. It definitely was. Knights deserved winners, and Coastline and Oregon was rightfully their 2 maps. And I mean, at the end, he's right. Just give them Consulate, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll just win the other 2. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, they backed themselves heading into their map pick, and Oregon, I like the fact that they took that time to put a lot of practice into Oregon, right? They knew that that was a weakness for them. They spent time, I mean, if you want to trust Dino's word, to strat the map and most importantly, counter strat Okami. And that really showed, I think, in that matchup. Okami thrown off a little bit there from what the Knights brought to the board, and it felt like at every turn, the Knights just were 1 up, at least in some regard. And the scoreline did reflect that.
He certainly did. And look, will we see Consulate? I would be very surprised if we see Consulate make its way into the map pool, especially against a team like Wildcard. I'm pretty sure they play Consulate pretty well, don't they?
Wildcard?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not bad. I mean, they...
Not that we see much Consulate lately these days anyway, but...
Yeah, exactly. But
regardless, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our second interviewee, who probably isn't feeling the best right now. Specker, unfortunately, you guys have crashed out of the playoffs. Firstly, I just want to say congratulations on the season as a whole. You still finished top 3. And obviously, you know, for yourself coming into the lineup, do you still look at it as a season, as a success to get to this point?
Sure. I mean, you have a player that hasn't touched the game for 8 months coming off, doing nothing, being overseas, not even, touching computer for about 4 months, into a lineup that's just had a fresh change. Don't really have a coach, don't really have a full-time analyst doing constant work. So, I mean, we're playing it pretty casually and we're still, top 3. So that's pretty cool. But not feeling too distraught about it though. We're doing about 4 nights roughly of practice a week. Whilst Pro League was on, we're doing, I think, 3. I think we're doing maybe... So about 5 or so nights we'll actually be playing the game during the actual season, but towards the playoffs, we're looking about 4 matches. But yeah, we feel all right doing it. It kind of sucks to lose in that manner. We're really feeling confident on Consulate. Coastline was a bit, how you going? To be honest, a bit back and forth. That's how Coastline is if you don't actually have a comfortable kind of way to play it, and I don't think we really were too comfortable. Wanted to play a more aggressive play style, and we didn't really get into that on the attack side, that is. Because Knights were pretty stagnant on their own. I think, they kind of sit to the other side of the map, and you're kind of free to take the side if you actually take your guns in and rush in. But unfortunately, couldn't really capitalize on that. And then, Oregon was a bit of a train wreck, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've done a pretty good job summing up that series, to be honest. Let's maybe look into the future a little bit. Of course, you guys qualified for the Oceanic Major. What are your thoughts heading into that one? Do you reckon you can spoil the party for wildcard and steal the points?
Sure. I mean, we've got, I think, maybe 2 weeks. There hasn't actually been announced yet, I don't think, the date. But, whenever it comes around, hopefully we'll be more prepared for it. It kind of sucks there is no LAN for it. That would make it a very different experience, I think, as opposed to having it online. So we'll see how we go, but we're going to be going into that pretty confident. I'm genuinely still not scared of a single team. Today, I believe we lost to ourselves. Yeah, Knights did good, but the energy on the first map and how we played that, I would say that's us where we're feeling really good, feeling confident. Coastline kind of took it out of us a bit. Don't know if I put doubt in our mind, hesitation. I don't really think we're too emotional as a team, but obviously it kind of slowed us down to a halt when we get 7-1 in Oregon, right? So something definitely affected us there on the Coastline. But hopefully we bring good energy into the next series and ticket hopefully.
You guys have got a good solid roster, good solid future. The only thing that's really missing right now, I guess, is a solid organization to give you guys a bit more of a backing as well. So,
honestly,
any final words you want, maybe, to see if you can woo over any potential orgs?
I mean, we're some good-looking gamers. We usually game pretty well and we feel ourselves. Of course, we've been out every so often, but we're looking, of course, for an organization to represent us and help us support and become a bit more consistent at playing and doing what we love. So. Yeah, we'll see how we go. Hopefully, next time you see us, we may be under a different banner. Maybe not. We'll see how we go. But much appreciated for that, Xenox.
No worries, mate. Best of luck in the future.
Cheers, boys. Have a good one.
Well, second in Six Masters, third in Oceanic Nationals for a team that doesn't even have an organization, going up against some pretty mighty organizations, the likes of Wildcard, Pittsburgh Knights, for instance, as well. They've really been doing an amazing job, and I think they've got a good future ahead of them, really. So, I mean, if I had the money, I'd sponsor them probably. They're a really good bunch of lads. Let's have a look at the bracket, though, guys. Sum it all up for us.
Well, we're almost done and dusted, right? We've made our way all through the entire bracket up until the best of 5 grand final. The Knights, they survived against Okami in the 2-1 that we just saw, and they are on a massive high. They won the last map 7-1, but now they have probably the biggest challenge they've had since the major, right? They're taking on Wildcard, who have that 1 map advantage. So this is going to be one hell of a challenge for them. But I mean, I'd be all for an upset. I'd love to see the Knights take this series. It would be really good for the region to see another team take on Wildcard, because they have been so dominant for so long.
Certainly agree with you there as well. Look, the 1 map advantage is also very paramount for Wildcard. Makes it a bit difficult for the Pittsburgh Knights, but I think even regardless of the map advantage, it was still always going to be very difficult for the Pittsburgh Knights. We saw that in the earlier exchange where it was a pretty swift 2-0 in favor of Wildcard. So I don't think Knights are going to go into this and get a shock. They definitely know what they're going to be going up against. They definitely know how difficult it's going to be to beat this wildcard team. Can they do it? I don't personally think so, guys. I wouldn't be too surprised to see everyone on the snowball predictions have a wild card logo next to their name compared to Pittsburgh. But I did say this would be the top 2, so I'm very happy I at least got that right.
And you never know what can happen, right? You can only win so many finals in a row. Eventually, you will fall, you will falter. Will it be this matchup?
yeah.
Again, not entirely convinced. Like I said to Dino, good luck. Probably going to need a fair dosage of that to get themselves over the line. But that said, if they can play as well as they did against Okami, they should be at least a chance to maybe take 1 map, even 2. And that'd be great for them heading into the major, where they'll be looking for some points as well.
It certainly would be. Well, that's the lower bracket final done. We're going to head to a break. It's going to be a slightly extended break because coming up after this, it will be the best of 5 grand final for the Oceanic Nationals. Stay tuned. Don't go too far. Maybe make a sandwich or something. Grab something to drink. Come back in a bit. And then we are going to have a cracker of a grand final to close out what's been an amazing season.